at you, glowing like a solar fire. You're something special, Jim. You're gonna podcast the stars, you are.
Now, Griff, this is just in your wheelhouse. You're back where you feel comfortable, I feel. After weeks of singing, sometimes...
biting off more than I could chew.
Right, sometimes like trying to take on a lot, but here, a salty pirate, space pirate?
Excuse me, a salty old cyborg?
A salty old space dog?
No, literally. I mean, he's like a dog alien, right? He's like a cyborg dog alien.
It's unclear.
Was actually trying to figure that out. Yes, what is he supposed to be?
I think he's sort of supposed to be the same species as Doppler, because if you look, the design is so weird it's hard to tell, but he's got little like dog ears poking out from under his bandana.
He does.
And his nose kind of has a little brownishness at the tip. It looks a little like a dog nose.
Yeah, he could be like a Doberman, right? Like a sort of a big droopy dog or something. I don't know.
But it's tough because he's also very fat.
He's a big boy.
And he's a cyborg. And those become the two defining characteristics in a way.
He's got robot bits. He's got row bits, literally. Some of his bits are row.
Yeah. Now listen to me, blank check. You got the makings of greatness in you. But you got to take the helm and chart your own course.
I agree, John. 6 years in, it's just the makings of greatness.
The makings of greatness.
What about, it's such a bizarre casting choice, too.
Brian Murray as John Silver?
But yeah, you got Brian Murray, who's like a South African theater actor who has like 5 movie credits total. Like barely worked on camera, worked very little on TV, got a number of Tony nominations in his lifetime, and they're just like, you're the linchpin of this entire movie.
Yeah, he's got
great. It's a great performance.
He's very good. That must be why, right? Like he must have just come in and knocked their socks off or something. But he's got 2 video games to his credit, though.
Treasure Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked this up. The other one's called like Treasure Planet Race to Halcyon or something.
Battle at Procyon, whatever that is. It's got skirmishes, epic 3D ship battles.
Right. It's 5 years later when Jim is an admiral, and it's a fucking ship battle game.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Folks, this is a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their career and give a series of blank checks, make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce, baby. And of course, the podcast is called Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David. You went from a different angle, but that's okay. You went through a portal or something.
It wasn't deliberate. It was an accidental temporal pincer movement.
Right. You just got so excited to explain the premise of our show.
I did. Also, my brain is perpetually in a turnstile these days. Doing great. But this is a miniseries on the films of Musker and Clements, the Disney directors. Their career works as a pretty good microcosm of the rise and fall and rise again of the Disney Renaissance. And this is the reason why they have a narrative that felt like it could fit into this podcast. Now, the other Disney directors do. As much as all the Disney guys at this time period were kind of company men, and it's hard to totally separate what their individual styles are, this was such a passion project, such a blank check movie, and such a bounce. And then they get to sort of redeem themselves twice after this. It gave it such a nice shape as a miniseries.
This is the Valley, and it's a good Valley. Yeah, and we've mentioned Trousdale and Wise, right? Because they have Atlantis, which I guess, but they only have 3 movies. They have Beauty and Beast, Hunchback, and Atlantis. So it's a little less of an arc.
Yeah, this has a real arc, and they're retired now, so it seems like the arc is completed. But of course, it's a miniseries called the Pottle Mercast.
Of course it is.
I will say today on Reddit, I saw people guessing what the miniseries title was going to be, and for the first time, I saw the Pottle Mercast typed out. Not great.
Well, I typed it out because I sent it to Pat
Reynolds
for the art.
Pat Reynolds.
And yeah, when I typed it out, I was like, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't. It kind of looks like, pottle looks like mottled. You know what I mean? So that's sort of what I was getting. I kind of liked it, actually.
Puddle Murcast sounds like the name of like a crewman in this movie. It sounds like the name of an alien pirate.
They call me Puddle Murcast.
Emma, do you like the name? What do you think? Because we always have guests on before they even know what it's it's even started.
Yeah, this is my first time hearing it. I'm imagining it spelled out right now, like in front of my eyes. I like it. It's weird.
It's weird. It's weird. Like, what's his name? Fuck, Jughead. Jughead's the one who's weird, right?
Yeah, he's weird. He's a weirdo.
It's weird like Jughead?
You know how Jughead, he has a monologue where he's like, I'm weird. Like, he like has a definitive, like, basically, like, Tumblr just emerges from his mouth. He just explains that he is different. And I think about it all the time.
Do you watch Riverdale, David, or do you just know this through osmosis meme culture?
I watched the pilot and I was like, I get it. It's like Archie plus Twin Peaks. And I watched the second episode and I was like, I'm sick of this. I don't like it. And that was that. I think we're like 6 seasons in now. How long's that show been running?
I think it's 5.
5? 5? No, only 4. Wow. God, it feels longer. I guess the 5th season's about to premiere. That's where we're at.
I don't know. It's weird. I wonder if there's a reason why the last 4 years in particular have felt much longer than they actually were. That specific span of time. You tell me a show premiered in the fall of 2016 and it feels like it's been on twice as long as it has?
I'm giving you a big smile.
Today we're talking about Treasure Planet. Bounce, baby.
Wait, this movie bounced, guys? Huh?
Oh, it bounced all over the fucking universe.
I didn't look up the weekend numbers, but I saw the final domestic total, and I truly did not think in my mind that it had bounced this hard.
Disney movies, they're not allowed to make that little money. Yeah, that's just not allowed.
I imagine if you adjusted for inflation, there is no Disney animated film, like a proper main studio animated film that came close to bombing this hard. Right? I mean,
how much did Atlantis make?
I feel like Atlantis made like 60 or 70.
It made, 84. Much better. Still not great, but yeah.
No, but like that was seen as a flop. And then Treasure Planet said, hold my mead, and came in. What hold my rum? I don't know. What a fucking space pirates drink.
What about Brother Bear, though? Brother Bear?
Brother Bear made like 80 or 90 or something.
Had the Phil Collins bump.
It did get that Collins bump. It made 85.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is the era where like Emperor's New Groove is seen as a disappointment because it made like 90. You know, Atlantis and Brother Bear end up in the 80s. Like they're like, those are bombs. And then this just redefines what the basement is.
I'll tell you what the one that, and it didn't do as bad as Treasure Planet, but close was Home on the Range. Home on the Range topped out at 50.
That's the last one. That's a fart. That's them just going like, we're legally obligated to release this movie.
Imagine releasing a film with Roseanne as the star in 2004. That sort of like summed up where Disney was in 2004, where they're like, Roseanne's still cool, right? And everyone's like, who? What? Roseanne is not cool. Roseanne is not a person we need. That's like the absolute nadir of Roseanne.
Yes. That's one of those movies where it had like an incredibly tortured Emperor's New Groove style birthing process where it started out as an entirely different movie and then barely resembled the original idea. But it was originally supposed to be a film called, I believe, Sweat and Bullets, about talking sentient bullets.
That's correct.
Right. And then like the whole cast remained the same, but it somehow became a ranch movie.
Yeah, it was going to be a bullet musical, a Western musical, and it came up with it right after Pocahontas. K.D. Lang was going to do the whole score. And Roseanne's in it. It was like the mid-90s, baby. And then they're like, oh, God. Oh, shit. It's 2004. You guys are still interested in our oh, no, you don't want it? Oh, no. Okay.
But it was Roseanne and Cuba Gooding Jr. in like 1995. And they were like, we got the two biggest stars signed up. And the movie comes out a decade later. And everyone's like, just pretend it doesn't exist. And even that outgrows Treasure Planet.
What about Meet the Robinsons? That did bad, right?
No, that did like 100 million.
Yeah, I felt like that movie was pretty popular.
This is rough. This is so mean to Treasure Planet.
Once they pivot to CGI, all of them start doing better. That's the thing. Like, even if they were expensive.
Right. They just sort of automatically, right.
Right. Like Chicken Little did like 140. Meet the Robinsons did 100. Bolt did 130 or something.
Chicken Little had the Braff bun.
It had the Braff bump.
Do you think? No, you know what? I'm not going to make a joke about Zach Braff. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be a bigger man in 2021. I'm above a Braff joke.
Our guest today should know that they do have permission to make a Braff joke if they want, and it's no pressure. They don't have to. They don't have to fill the void left by David's lack of a Braff joke. It's a free society.
I don't have one in me. I didn't prepare anything about Braff.
I mean, I was just thinking, look, no, I don't want to make it. I don't want to make the Braff joke. I don't want to do it.
I think you do.
Because he's in Chicken Little, right? He is the titular little chicken,
Correct.
Chicken Little. And Florence Pugh, his partner, I assume they're still together,
Yes.
was born in 1996. And Chicken Little came out when? 2006?
2004, I believe.
So she was 8 years
It's 4 or
old
5. Yeah.
when
Yeah,
it came
it's
out.
5,
So I'm
maybe.
just wondering if she first was exposed to Zach Braff when he was playing a cartoon chicken. I was just thinking about it.
Probably.
And I wanted to make a joke about it, but you know what? I'm sure they're happy together in their nice house with their big kitchen.
I think the way that Sexy Fox Robin Hood was a real eye-opening film for a lot of young children, I think Florence Pugh had her sexual awakening watching Chicken Little as an 8-year-old.
And see, this is the kind of joke I didn't want to make, and I brought it on this podcast.
It's been made now. Florence Pugh
God
became
damn.
a woman when she saw Chicken Little.
No. All right. Okay.
And she
all
did!
out.
I don't have to tell
cut it
ya!
all out.
Keep it in and double it.
Gary Marshall is the second lead. He plays Buck Cluck.
Yeah, it's a weird fucking movie.
Patrick Stewart's the villain.
Do you know what the plot of the Chicken Little movie is?
The sky is falling.
Okay, right. So that we all know Chicken Little, the sky is
Emma,
falling.
did you see this movie? Just FYI.
I feel like I did. Isn't it like Aliens?
Yes, thank you, Emma. The premise of the movie, the hook to the movie is Chicken Little says the sky is falling. Everyone says he's a liar and he's wrong. He doesn't understand. It turns out, in fact...
Classic Chicken Little situation.
Right. It turns out, in fact, there are aliens who have created like a weird video screen in the sky to make it look like they're not about to invade the planet. And one of the tiles of that video screen is what fell out and hit Chicken Little in the head. And so he's the only person trying to warn people about an oncoming alien invasion.
There you go. That sounds like a good movie.
The logical modern retelling of the Chicken Little story.
Right. It's like War of the Worlds combined with the Truman Show, starring a chicken.
I'm just trying to imagine Bob Iger, at Show West being like, so we thought, what's the 21st century Chicken Little story, right? And then he advances a slide or something,
Sure.
That's just how it sounds to me.
But you also have to remember that's one of the ones that he kind of inherited. They were like, so you guys are making
I didn't mean to shiv Iger. I was just sort of thinking any Disney CEO, insert Disney CEO here.
They also just so badly wanted to make movies that did not feel like Treasure Planet and did not feel like Pocahontas. Like they didn't want to make princess musicals and they didn't want to make this kind of earnest adventure
Serious,
film.
world building, right,
Right. Everything had to be sort of Shrekky, postmodern, kids' adventures and fun. Yeah.
I don't think I like this movie as much as our guest. Have we introduced our guest? We have to do that. I don't know how you feel about Treasure Planet, Griffin, but it doesn't do anything that's annoying about modern animation, basically. Or it avoids so much of the shit that I don't like. And I just have to give it props for that alone. And we'll talk about all the other. But you know what I mean? There's no fucking bullshit.
Right. And one could argue it was punished for that at the American box office.
Exactly. They were like, where's all the bullshit? This thing needs to have more bullshit.
Yeah. And not only was it such a calamitous failure, this is the movie that kind of put the final nail in the coffin for hand-drawn animation, I would say. Because it's after this, they go stop every movie that isn't too far along to cancel, right?
Right.
So it's the
right. Brother Bear and Home in the Range, they're
they
deep.
make it out. It was too late to fucking cut your losses on those two, but everything grinds to a halt after the release of this movie. Tangled, which would have been, I think, next up, hand-drawn originally, and then it went through many titles.
Would be so much better if it was hand-drawn.
The movie that ended up being Frozen was in development at this point. It was the Ice Princess or the Snow Queen, or went through 8,000 different titles, but doing some variation on a Snow Queen movie. This just ends everything and also ends even other studios attempting to make anything like this again. It scares everyone off of all of this no bullshit kind of classical animation. And our guest loves it. She's the queen of the bugs.
What an intro.
You know her by her nickname. Her nickname.
I love it.
Of course. Or not even nickname, let me say her famous catchphrase. Books.
Bugs.
Mm-hmm. I say that all the time.
She's the queen of the bugs, but her catchphrase on this podcast is books.
Wait, is that from Miss Peregrine? I don't even remember.
Oh, I think I remember saying that once. Yeah, I was trying to start a sentence and I couldn't finish it.
I think I was setting you up saying, Emma, you love books, right? And you went, yeah, books.
That's the kind of energy we need in 2021 is we're going to tackle all this country's problems.
Emma Stefansky,
Hi.
folks.
Thrillist. She's at Thrillist.com.
I am at Thrillist.com. And I come with a fact. I come with many facts today, but I do come with an answer to your question from the beginning of this podcast, which was, what is John Silver's alien race? He is an alien. He's something called an ursid, which is like a man bear, which you don't really.
Bear.
Yeah, that's why he sort of looks a little bit animally.
Yeah, I thought he was dog-like, but I see it. Yeah, it's subtle hints of animal.
Mm-hmm. His hands have that. Or the one hand has like the little claw fingernails.
The other hands are robot hand. Just to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught that, Emma. I know you've seen this film multiple times, but there's a very subtle detail in this movie, which is that he's got a robot arm.
You know, I finally caught that this time watching it. But I'm glad that you reminded me. Yeah, a robot whole half of his body.
Eagle-eyed viewers might catch. We should make a list. You should submit this to Thrillist, Emma, to time out with when this episode comes out. Like 30 Treasure Planet Easter eggs you might have missed.
That's a really good idea.
I'll give you a couple of them quickly. The treasure is in a planet.
True. True.
Silver is part rubbit.
Uh-huh.
True.
Yep.
True. Okay.
The ship is a spaceship.
But it's also like a sea ship. It's got sails.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a space sea ship. Jim Hawkins is a surfer. Wait, don't write that down yet. I didn't finish. He's a solar surfer.
Hell yeah.
He's tubular.
He's radical.
That's the most bullshit adjacent this movie gets, is opening with, like, this guy does extreme sports in space.
Oh, yeah. He grinds.
He grinds like the cosmos.
It's cool, but I'm just saying, that's like the number one thing that almost feels like a studio note, where it's just like...
That and the Goo Goo Dolls song are the two things where you're like, well, this isn't right. But
those are the two things I love about the movie.
Of course. No, but this is the thing. I don't even think either of those things are bad. I just think in 2002, people were like, no, you can't fool me, Disney. I know you guys are a bunch of cheesy clowns. I don't think you're cool just because you have a guy with a ponytail on a surfboard thing. Like, you're not going to fool me.
It's funny. I was just thinking about, like, this... Titan AE and Atlantis kind of function as a trilogy, right? This attempt to shift the perception of hand-drawn animation to, like, wait, what if hand-drawn animated films are actually sci-fi action movies? And I think it's a response to Pixar.
Yes, sure. But they're all sort of a little steampunky, and which is sort of cool at the time. And they're all like
still cool.
You know, so cool. And they're all like hand-drawn animation with lots of 3D elements, so it can seem like dazzling and modern, right?
And floppy-haired boy characters.
They all have the hair that does this. They all do that. Even the guy in Anastasia, Dimitri, he has that hair too.
Dimitri, the weirdest of all of them.
It's like the Brendan Fraser hairdo, where you got the hair curtains, or as I sometimes like to call it, the boy Rachel.
There's something about Dimitri, and we will talk about Anastasia one day, because we'll do Bluth.
At some point. And we'll talk about Titan AA.
That's also Bluth. That's right. That's also Bluth.
That's also Bluth.
I thought you'd like that. Something about Dimitri, he looks too much like John Cusack. They give him like full cheeks or something just to like make him look a little more grown up, and it makes him look like a creep to me.
His chin is really distracting when you get the chin like on the profile. I remember watching the movie as a kid and being like, this man, he looks like an old man. He's like,
right,
this is not
too,
a young
too grown up.
guy.
Here, wait, I'm gonna make it my background. I now want everyone to weigh in.
See, I think he looks exactly like Billy Zane in Titanic.
He does, yes.
Yeah, he's got a little of that. Sure, right, yeah.
Was that what they were going for?
I don't know, because it was before Titanic, right? Or the same year? But it's weird, like his hair looks like a wig, like Billy Zane in Titanic, even though it's an animated movie. Everyone's hair is fake. Somehow his hair looks particularly fake.
Right, I'm like, does this guy have a rug? What's up with Dimitri?
What's going on with this guy?
Wait, here, this one's even weirder. Like, what?
Yes, this.
Yeah.
What's up with this? He's weird. I'm not turned on by this guy. I don't want to run away with him.
That weird sort of crevice only on one side of his mouth.
Yeah, right. I think it's something about how Bluth animates.
Yeah.
Slightly more realistic.
The Titan AE guy is the same. He sort of has that same like face shape.
Now, Titan AE guy is Damon. Is it Matt Damon?
Yeah. Matt Damon, Michael J. Fox, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are the three heroes of these three animated action films.
The trifecta.
Right.
The gang.
I'm going to give you. And this is here. You know what? I knew this was Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I remember it from the time.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like...
There he is.
It's almost the exact same face.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I'll say this too. Jim Hawkins is like the exact same haircut as this, where it's like the Rachel, but then with the undercut in the back and the sides. But then Jim Hawkins adds the Padawan braid. He's got the braided ponytail coming just out of the back of the neck, the nape of the neck, but there's no other hair around that. Everything else around the braided ponytail is shaved.
It's like the cool like 90s boy hairstyle that wasn't like frosted tips.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas adjacent, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah. Joseph Gordon-Levitt doesn't really sound like your impression of Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this movie until there's a few moments at the end that you can, when he's getting more serious, that he gets a little more like loaded die.
Yeah. I think this, I was trying to sort of like carbon date this, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt really did a sort of a soft Gosling of just deciding like, I don't want to be seen as a child star anymore. I've decided this is how I'm going to talk, right? Like he sort of did a complete vocal change.
Agreed.
Because I think he was such, like he wasn't like a child superstar, but he was a very visible child star. He was in a lot of stuff. He was on fucking primetime television for the better part of a decade. He was like known, and he was very squeaky voiced, which is how he sounds in this. Like he sounded more like me, where he's just like, come on, Silver.
Right.
You know, like there's almost like a Michael J. Fox kind of thing there. And this movie, because animation takes so long, and especially at this point in time, I feel like Disney would often try to like guess who would maybe be a star 3 or 4 years in the future. Like they were like, oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Third Rock's ending. Is he going to become a leading man? But this coincides with Jogo soft retiring. He had this period where he was like, I kind of got burnt out on acting after I left Third Rock from the Sun. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. And I like left, and I sort of went on my like soul searching journey. And then I came back to acting with like a renewed passion, started doing all these Sundance movies, right?
Yeah, that's, Mysterious Skin and Brick and Havoc. That's where it's like, oh, wow, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's all grown up. This is coming out 1 year after Third Rock from the Sun goes off the air. This movie, Treasure Planet.
Right, that's the thing. So I remember him doing press for this movie, but also sort of being like, I'm maybe kind of walking away from all of this shit. When I say press for this movie, I remember him doing like a fucking Movie Surfers episode or whatever, but seeming uncomfortable that he had to even promote this movie. And then he comes back in a couple of years and he has like Mysterious Skin and Brick at Sundance. And then he's like done the octave shift down where now he's
loaded.
He's got the soft Keanu thing going on, But it feels like he made a conscious decision. I mean, I know he's playing younger than he is in this movie, so perhaps he was trying to play up the youthful elements, but watching this just reminds you how fundamentally different his voice used to be, which also underlines why I am so fascinated with the way he talks now, because it does feel like a 40-year-old man still trying to prove to people, I am a grown-up. I am not a child star. This is how an adult man talks.
Oh, boy. Treasure Planet. So, Griffin,
Yes.
Ron Clements and John Musker's passion project. We're here to talk about it. They pitched it 1985.
This film was almost 20 years in development.
You know this, Emma, right?
Yeah, they kept telling him no.
Yeah, they kept saying no. We talked about how Disney, Eisner, and Katzenberg kept on Lucy Van Pelting this movie as the football to Musker and Clements' Charlie Brown. But the thing I found while digging back into this movie in particular is that it was after Aladdin, when that was so big, that and they were just like, sorry, we just don't like this pitch. They went up to Roy Disney, and Roy Disney interfered and said, like, please let them do this. I think this is worth doing. And begrudgingly, Eisner and Katzenberg like made a contract for them that was, if you make Hercules first, we promise we will take Treasure Planet seriously after that. But it was like contingent on doing another movie first. And I think they hoped that maybe somehow they would slip out of actually having to take Treasure Planet to the finish line.
But they did. They did finally do it.
They did. I mean, Katzenberg was gone at that point.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't have to oversee this.
That's a good point. Right. Katzenberg's gone at that point. But yeah, no. And also, well, we'll talk about it. But like by the time they're actually making it, the technology is there for them to make this sort of dramatic looking movie that maybe they couldn't have made in 1985.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah, well, that's what they did is they waited a little bit.
they waited. Emma, you love this movie. You're a big fan.
I'm a huge fan, yeah.
You've seen it a number of times.
I can recite the whole thing.
That's what David said, and I didn't know if he was exaggerating or not, but you really think you can recite the entire movie.
On the clearest of nights, the winds of the Ethereum were calm and peaceful. Great merchant ships with their cargoes of Arcturian solar crystals felt safe and secure. Little did they suspect that they were pursued by pirates!
Books!
Not an easy start. Arcturian? Like what? Like there's a bunch of words getting thrown at you right away.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely called my bluff there, Emma.
Did not. Yeah, so Emma, this film came out Thanksgiving time, 2002. Now, I was 16 years old. I did not see this film. I thought this film looked stupid. I probably would have said something to those to that effect because I was a cool teenager and I was like, what's this shit? Treasure Planet. Disney's out of ideas. Get out of here.
Yeah, no, you famously cool teenager. You definitely said something to that effect to your friends on the Oscar Watch message boards.
Roast me. That's the thing. Yes, I was not cool at all, but I was sort of like, oh, I'm not seeing that. Now, Griffin, in 2002, you would have been what, 13-ish?
I was 13. I mean, I remember vividly that all of my friends thought this looked stupid. No one would have been caught dead in the theater seeing this. My mulligan was that I had a much younger sister.
You had a sister,
so
yeah.
Right. So Romilly was, I was 13. Romilly would have been 4 when this movie came out. So I, like, right at the age when all of my friends no longer wanted to see animated movies, I used the get out of jail card of like, oh, I'm just taking my sister to them. But I wanted to see every animated movie. I would have been having a crisis figuring out how to go see these movies without letting anyone know had I not had a little sister.
Romilly, honestly, too young for this. Did you really take Romilly? Yeah.
Absolutely. My mom and Romilly and I went to see this, and I just remember, even as a 4-year-old, the kind of active disinterest Romilly clearly had the entire running time. She wasn't even scared or bored. There was just like an absence of a movie happening in front of her.
But what was your opinion of Treasure Planet? I'm going around the room here at the time.
I was still a big animation nerd, but sort of trying to hide it from my friends to a degree. And I knew somewhat about the legacy for this movie. And I also think I wanted this shift to work. I liked the idea of, oh my God, what if hand-drawn animation can reclassify itself as fucking sci-fi action movies? Then will they be cool to see again? Do I not have to give up on this? And the first two had not really worked, right?
Right, Titan A and The other one
Yeah.
we were just talking about. Yep.
Atlantis.
Atlantis. Yep.
Yeah. Which, I mean, actually ends up being the most successful of the three of these movies. But Treasure Planet had this like amazing teaser trailer. It had a teaser trailer where it used John Williams' score from Far and Away, and it has like almost no dialogue in it. And it's just kind of the best money shots of the ships and the surfing and all that sort of shit. And it felt really epic. And I was like, oh, they might pull this off. Like they might actually make this movie seem cool to teenagers. And then by the time it came out, you had like a trailer with fucking floppy, dog-eared David Hyde Pierce alien. I was like, I am never convincing any friend of mine to go see this. It is done. But I guess at least it will probably be a hit with families. And then I just remember going to see it with Romley and my mother, Thanksgiving weekend probably. We saw it at the 2nd Avenue and 12th Street Theater, which for those of you who don't know, don't live in New York City, it's this independent multiplex that has one incredible like old movie palace screen.
It looks like a synagogue. It's this beautiful giant temple. Yes.
You can look it up, City Cinemas, 2nd Avenue and 12th Street, and see pictures of it. It looks like an opera hall, and any movie seen at that screen opening weekend tended to feel even more epic. And I just remember going to see it and there being 3 other people in the theater and being like, this movie is so radically uncool, and I kind of liked it. I didn't love it. I would have loved to have loved it. I respected it a lot. And for the last 20 years, I've never revisited it, but I've always gone like, if I watched that today, would I think this is a secret masterpiece? It's one of the reasons I so badly wanted to do Musker and Clements. And I feel pretty much exactly the same as I did in theaters.
You liked it, but didn't leave. Sure. Okay. Now, Ben, I'm assuming you did not see the film in theaters, despite it having Ben energy.
No, I did not. I was 17 years old. This was the furthest from my mind possible.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. As we were talking off mic, just a lot of Ben things in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. So many things. Yeah, I mean, I just saw this for the first time a few mere hours ago, and I'm excited to get into all the details because there's some really fucking fun space dog pirate ass shady characters, man.
It's a little shady.
Yeah.
Emma's pumping her fist, Arsenio Hall audience style.
Yep.
I did have the thought watching this movie like 30 minutes in, if this exact same script was done in 2002 as like a live action movie directed by Stephen Sommers, it would have been a hit.
I was literally going to say not exactly that same thing, but like could be translated easily to live action. This is that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it would have worked. I think it Ben would have absolutely have gone to see this in theaters if it were live action, right? If this movie had the same visual aesthetic but was done with 2002 era CGI,
Definitely.
you would have gone like, oh, that looks cool. It's fucking space pirates. And the fact that it was like a Disney movie just it killed both audiences at the same time. Like anyone who liked Disney was like, this doesn't look like what I like about Disney. And anyone who wanted to see a fucking salty space pirate movie was like, why are they all adorable?
Right. All right. Now, so Emma, you're the star here in terms of seeing Treasure Planet. But did you see it in theaters in 2002?
I did. I went to see it with a friend of mine.
You would have been, I'm guessing, around 10?
I was still 9 at that point. That was the year I turned 10, but I was still 9.
Right, you're a December birthday.
I went with a friend. We both loved it. We both had the same reaction. We were like, this movie rules. And I didn't know for probably years that it was like not a popular, like that it was a huge flop. I had no idea. I showed this to my friends at like sleepovers and everyone was like, oh yeah, this rules. And we were just in this blissful bubble, not aware that, you know, the
you didn't know this like
world
tanked drawn animation around the world, essentially.
Killed it, yeah.
Right. It was an art form killer.
I guess not around the world because Japan and so on still happily hand draw
Yeah,
things.
we still get hand drawn.
But in America, yes. In Hollywood, at least, yes.
Yeah, I did not know that.
So you just loved it, you converted friends to it, and you kept the torch aflame all these many years.
I was drawing a lot back then, like I still do, and my like art style was very obviously influenced by this movie. I was drawing a lot of like creatures. I drew a lot of ships, like this type of ship. Yeah, it was way deep into my head, never coming out.
Emma, what a touching story. You talking about how Treasure Planet inspired you reminded me of one of my great inspirations in life, which of course is stamps.com. From the moment they launched, certainly have spent a lot of time doodling stamps in my school notebooks, talking about stamps with my friends. I used to have a stamps.com Tumblr, writing fan fiction. I mean, look, let's face it, taking trips to the post office is probably not how you want to spend your time. Unless you've gotten vaccinated, you probably don't want to spend your time leaving the house. And if you do, I mean, to each their own. Look, that's why I'm at least personally recommending mailing and shipping online at stamps.com, because stamps.com allows you to mail and ship anytime, anywhere, right from your computer, your pooter, your poot. You can send letters, you can ship packages, pay a lot less with discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more. This is the thing. Listen, if I could be super blunt, if I could be real here, and David, I beg you to please just hold on to your thoughts for a moment here. Stamps.com has saved businesses thousands of hours and tons of money. Because with Stamps.com, you get the services of the post office and UPS all in one place, plus big discounts on mailing and shipping rates. Talking about discounts, for example, what about 40% off post office rates? How does that sound? Huh? Is that not good enough for you? But what about 62% off of UPS shipping rates? Oh, yeah, now I got your attention, right? Not to mention, it's a fraction of the cost of those expensive postage meters. That's where they always get you. It's a no-brainer. They're saving you time and money. I gotta motivate my audience here, David. I'm so sorry, our audience, but I have to motivate them. This is a mandatory call to action, okay? Listen to me. Stop wasting time going to the post office. Go to stamps.com instead. There's no risk. And look, if you promise not to tell anybody about it, with our promo code CHECK, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. There's no long-term commitments or contracts, okay? So just don't repeat this. You just go to stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in CHECK, CHECK. That's stamps.com, promo code CHECK. Never go to the post office again. Anyway, back to Treasure Planet talk. What were you about to say? I mean, this was a big thought I had watching this film. Like, I kept on just thinking, like, oh, what an odd duck this is, right? Like, just what an obviously, like, everything I like about it is directly tied to why it could not find an audience in 2002, why it just landed with a thud. But the movie this most reminds me of is Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
Jupiter Ascending, I think it's why I've always said that movie, like, hit people the wrong way, is that, like, people were like, oh, it's a fucking cool-ass Wachowski space movie. And they were like, no, it's, like, secretly a Disney movie. Like, we're making a Disney movie with fucking animal aliens and, like, bobbly gold spaceships and shit. And this movie feels like the same kind of thing.
That's very true about Jupiter Ascending.
Right? It's the flip side of the incongruity.
Because you're always like, oh, Jupiter Ascending, right? Like, that thing is a fucking phantasmagoria. And it's like, no, it's about this special girl who has a golden telescope who looks into the stars and, like, wishes she was good, and she's a janitor. And then she turns out she's a princess, like.
She's an alien princess.
It's got that sort of, like, goofy fairy tale sincerity, which I think this movie has as well. And I mean, I think this film is better than Titan AE, but
Titan AE sucks.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I know you agree. I'm just so annoyed because I rewatched it, I don't know, in the last couple years, and I was like, come on, surely this is good. And it's such a stinker, and I don't even know why.
I'll say whenever we do Don Bluth and whenever we do Titan AE, Ben Edlund has one of the 3 screenwriting credits on that movie, and I want to have him on the episode to talk about whatever the weird process of that movie was, because I think He's alluded to it at times to me, and it sounds like it was a very weird development. That movie is not good, but my point I was going to say is that movie does a better job of affecting a sort of hollow badass attitude, right? Like really trying to go like, this is not for kids. It's PG-13. I forget who does the song for that movie, but there's a similar kind of like Goo Goo Dolls adjacent song. It's a fucking I'm in over my head.
It's lit, my friend. It's lit.
It's lit, right? And then Atlantis has like the Mike Mignola thing. It's an original story. It's structured a little bit more like an action film. And the comic relief characters in it aren't like goofy animals and shit. They're like funny, like they're like Jerry Bruckheimer comic relief characters, you know?
And you dig Atlantis, right, Emma? That's another fave for
oh my
you.
God. It's like
Yeah,
maybe second behind this one. It's so cool. I love it.
Right.
But there's just nothing badass about this movie, which is what's so refreshing about watching it, but it was just fucking doomed. If you just think about like not just the Pixar movement, but Shrek is the year before this, right?
Yeah.
So Shrek has just fucking folded the entire Disney kingdom like laundry. Like whatever chance there was of a teenage boy still being talked into seeing a Disney movie, Shrek just made everyone go like, oh yeah, no, that stuff's stupid, right? I like Shrek. He farts and shit.
There's farts in this movie, though.
There are, but they're such like Nickelodeon farts.
Yeah, that's true. They're not like gross necessarily, or like as wet as Shrek.
Yeah, and then Stitch comes out this exact same year as well, which is sort of Disney hand-drawn doing their own Shrek. We talked about how the Stitch campaign, the marketing campaign, was all based around like he's the bad boy of the Disney family.
This guy's a freak.
Right, he's burping on the beast and whatever. But it was just like this movie just had no fucking shot. And it is fascinating that Stitch was like made by like the weird B team in like, you know, I think it was literally animated in Hawaii. Is that possible?
I couldn't tell you, but I'll try and find out right now.
It was not the main animation studio. It was like a satellite studio they set up. It was a much smaller movie, smaller budget, meant to just sort of be a programmer. This was their big epic holiday release. And then Stitch was a huge hit. This was their biggest bomb ever. And this was such a bomb that even Stitch, having come out fucking 6 months earlier, couldn't have saved hand-drawn animation, you know?
I don't see any evidence that they actually worked on it in Hawaii, but certainly, obviously, it has that sort of watercolor style.
And it's set in Hawaii, obviously.
Very nice, and obviously it's in Hawaii. But like that's it. I mean, do you like Lilo and Stitch, Emma? It's just this shit just always fascinates me in terms of like how you and I are the same generation, but like it's in the children's films where the gulfs are widest.
We were talking about like childhood cartoons, I think a few days ago.
Absolutely, that's another thing.
What I was talking about.
You were talking about Courage the Cowardly Dog, and what's another one you were talking about?
I mean, like my touchstones would be like Kim Possible and Teen Titans, and like Code Lyoko, weird shit like that.
And of course I've heard of all these things, but like mine were like Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats and Rocko's Modern Life or whatever, right? Like, and it's just again like just that's just happenstance. It's whatever's fucking on when you're 6 years old, right? Like that's just the die that's cast. Maybe not anymore with the streaming and all that, the streaming Griffin.
But I also feel like this is maybe the Disney movie with the least nostalgia around it, considering that the internet is now like fucking 20% Disney nostalgia, right? Like that's 20% of all content on the internet.
There's no princess, which is an issue, right? Because Disney turns the princesses into like a linked universe somehow. So it doesn't get to be part of that world.
The romance is a fucking comic subplot. It's a dog and a cat having babies together. And they're both stuck-up adults.
They do. Stuck-up adults voiced by great actors. I just typed Treasure Planet into Tumblr, though, and I got some stuff. I got some kind of cool emo art.
We're still out there.
Right? Like, there's probably a little bit, any Disney thing. But I agree with you, Griffin, that certainly this is an under-discussed part of the franchise. Really, though, all Jack Hawkins. Which,
Yeah.
here, I'm going to make it my background, guys. This is exciting. Are you excited for this?
Oh, no.
This one I really like. It's not, no, come on.
There's a reason I don't look this shit up.
Ah, fuck, it doesn't matter.
doesn't
He's
work.
wearing a sweater, but it's, oh, God, here, I'll just link you to it. You know who Jack Hawkins also looks like Griffin?
Jim.
Hawkins, sorry, not Jack Hawkins. Do you know who he looks like, though, Griffin?
Who?
The guy from How to Train Your Dragon as well also has that energy.
Oh, Hiccup?
You know, like the hair and the... Okay, now, Griffin, you've got this fucking disgusting Madame Tussauds doll, and I'm realizing what the problem with it is that the eyes are at cartoon size.
Yes.
And on a mannequin that just looks insane.
This is literally Madame Tussauds. It was the first 2 fictional characters they ever included in any of their locations were Jim Hawkins and Cyborg Silver. And the Jim Hawkins one is terrifying because it's like Madame Tussauds level realism applied to a fucking Disney handsome boy face.
He looks like he has like pores in his skin, even.
Yes, he must. I mean, he's got rooted eyebrows and hair and like... Yeah, realistic teeth and shit. It's terrifying. But yeah, no, it's... I just think I even see more online nostalgia for Atlantis. And I also think it's notable that I have never once heard even a whisper of them remaking this. And the Atlantis rumors continue to go like, oh, Disney wants to do it with Tom Holland. Whether that's true or not, those rumors circulate. I have not heard a murmur about doing this one again. It feels like the one that they're not even going to touch.
It's because it's perfect the way that it is.
It's because it's perfect the way it is.
Is that why Tom Holland is popular? Because I know I like Tom Holland. I enjoy the work of him, but also he looks like the boy we're talking about. Like every single, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Titan A. He just looks like that. That's just what he is.
And he's got the voice. Like he said, oh, come on, a Treasure Planet?
Come on, what are you talking about, guys? You want me to do a lip sync? Oh, I guess so. I guess I'll do it to Rihanna's Umbrella.
That's the thing. He's just fan casted as everything now.
Every little guy.
Right. People want him to play fucking Link. They want him to play Milo.
Of course they do.
In Atlantis. They want him to play every boy. Yeah.
He has a very like androgynously handsome boy face, I think is the appeal. Like it's not a Timothée Chalamet situation where he's like all angles and shit. Like Tom is very round.
Yeah, he does have a nice round face. You want to give him a little pinch.
He's cute.
And his American accent is good, but it sounds like a cartoon character. He speaks like a cartoon American boy.
No, but he sounds like a tugboat. That's your old thing, Griffin.
Oh, my thing was, but I was using that in a pejorative way. I said that Orlando Bloom in Elizabethtown sounds like a talking train who teaches you how to read. Do you know what this is? A cat. That's right.
Someone that like an adult, if they just hear the tones, will be like, oh God, he's talking again. He picked up the book that talks. Oh God.
Fuck, it's Orlando the train again.
Oh my God. Treasure Planet. Now, Emma, did you care about Treasure Island, the Robert Louis Stevenson book where you invested in the
source material?
Material.
I'm sure that I had read like some abridged like children's version of it, and I know that I had seen Muppet Treasure Island before this.
Now, another problem for this movie. That's only 6 years before, right?
Yeah. And then I saw this, but then this became sort of in my mind like I've sort of thought like this is more or less an accurate like portrayal of the book, besides the fact that everything. And then I read the actual book. And was like, this is different. Like I sort of felt like a little bit separated from it just by the fact that I had seen this movie and had that like notion in my head this whole time. And then I read the book and was like, I don't know if I like this as much.
Right. The skeleton of the plot is basically the same. There's the Captain Flint and there's Ben Gunn is right. Yeah, But yeah, no, it's not that similar. I mean, there's for one, and you guys may not realize this because it's a subtle difference, but this film is set in outer space.
Yeah, right. The entire Treasures of Planet.
Griff, do you like Muppet Treasure Island, Griffin? I know that.
I love Muppet Treasure Island. That's why I was going to ask Emma Books, Stefansky, do you think Muppet Treasure Island is more faithful as an adaptation than this?
Yeah.
It might be, right?
I think it is, because I think the most of the characters are the same.
Right. This does
This
some
one kind of
weird-
takes out a lot.
Right, because the David I. Pierce character, Droopy Dog or whatever his name is like Squire Trelawney, and he's the other guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Fozzie and Bunsen Honeydew or whatever.
He's a combination. He's a Bunsen and a Fozzie, right?
He's called
Right.
Dr. Doppler, which is a cool name.
Not a cool guy, though.
He's kind of cool.
I don't know if he's kind of cool.
I think he's sweet and he's funny. I don't think we can use the word cool. I like this movie,
No.
Emma. I'm here
No.
for the defense. I don't think we can use the word cool.
Definitely not.
This is, of course, the golden age of David Hyde Pierce voice performances, starting with A Bug's
Yes.
Life, right? You've got Osmosis Jones, of course. You've got this. You've got Hellboy. I mean, just do you need a squirrely, nerdy guy? David Hyde Pierce is at your beck and call. He's the only
I mean,
one.
he's uptight. Like, that's his type. Right?
My man is uptight. I love David Hyde Pierce so much. He is the true definition of when's he bad. He is never bad.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're
Never.
absolutely right. He's so fucking good. Sideshow Cecil Terwilliger. I feel like you left that off the list of his important late 90s
Incredible, though.
voiceover
and
run.
we have to,
Right.
we must respect. Absolutely right. Yes.
But there's an early moment early on in this film. I was just like trying to clock as I was watching it. I was remembering the feeling in the theater of being like, I would never be able to convince any of my friends to stay in the theater right now if I was seeing this with other 13-year-olds.
Sure. They would walk out. That's what you're thinking. They'd be like, we're out of here.
I remember having that thought of like, if I had gone to see this with friends, they would say, let's go to a different movie. Let's sneak
Right.
out into a different screen.
Is it like when I took my friends to see Alexander and they stayed through the entire 3.5 hour movie only because they thought that for some reason Angelina Jolie was going to be naked in it, and then they were furious with me that she wasn't, even though I had promised them no such thing.
Yeah, also, like, Rosario Dawson has the most nudity anyone has ever had in that movie.
There is nudity in the film, but I believe I even was like, what are you talking? That was a sexy movie. They were like, I can't believe you've done this. They were literally the Vine of the angry British boy. Continue. I'm so sorry.
What's the year after this, but I told everyone that Hulk ruled, and then everyone, like, yelled at me.
This is the origin of our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But the early chunk of the movie where it's just like you have the opening that Emma so beautifully recited.
Emma's eyes, I want to say, glowed green as she did that, by the way.
They did. Once the book is closed, so to speak, and you're in the reality of like Jim Hawkins and his mother, Andy's mom,
Laurie Metcalf.
the movie is so squarely back in Disney territory. Like, it's got such an earnest Disney vibe, not just to the look, but the vocal performances and the energy and the score and all that sort of stuff. And in that early chunk, when like you're watching this movie that's ostensibly been sold off of this largely wordless, here's all the eye candy, look at the explosions in the ships, set to John Williams' music teaser trailer. And then it's like, oh, you have 3 90s sitcom stars having a talk in what looks like a colonial reenactment bar in space. You know? So it's like everyone is dressed up in like these like dorky period clothes, despite being in the space and future. And it's fucking the kid from Third Rock, the aunt from Roseanne, and the brother from Frasier. And it's just like this movie is, I think this movie is lovely, but
And then the guy from The Prisoner shows up. They're like, let's not,
Right.
like, you know.
right. In his final vocal performance, there's something. So much of this movie's charm to me is that I don't think Musker and Clements have it in them to be strategically edgy. I mean, they cannot be cool. You know, it's just like there's cool shit in this movie, but they cannot be like cool. Like they are incapable of putting a Poochie in a film.
And like, absolutely. And that's right. That's what, if this film were made by DreamWorks 5 years later, it would be fucking swimming in Poochies. It'd be called Poochie Planet, probably. But like, you know, they do Hercules and they're like, our take on this is it's like a 40s screwball comedy. Like, you know,
Right.
and they get away with it, but like that's their energy. Their energy is not going to be, this is radical and extreme. Like, you know, this is the kind of thing you can put in a Sega Genesis game. Like, that's just not how they think. They can, you know, Disney can do its work to try and, you know, right. But like, you're right that they are. And like to think that this is the thing they had nursed.
I know.
I think it was Clements. Yeah, it was Clements who had nursed it the longest. For 20 years almost.
They just have inherently goofy energy, which I think any listener of this show will know I say as a compliment. But they have inherently goofy energy. And we talked in the Little Mermaid episode about how they seem to be, of all the Disney directors in this period, the ones who are the best at tonal balance. That when you get to the movies that are a little more self-serious, like Pocahontas and Hunchback and Mulan, the comic relief characters kind of butt up against like the very threatening villains and the more serious themes. Like it just feels a little bit misshaped. And this movie doesn't have that problem because they choose to take all the elements that other people would have Titan AE style tried to make seem cool and put them at the exact level as Doppler. You know, like everything is working around, harmonizing around the persnickety dog professor.
Now, Emma, do you wish to intervene here and tell us that no, this movie's actually the coolest, or do you know what we're going for?
I mean, no, I understand. I do think that it's cool. I think that the opening, when it goes from him as a little boy to like, and then it says like 12 years later on the screen, that's the only title thing that we ever get.
Right.
And he's like on his solar thing and it's like, that's cool. That's cool. And then
cool.
the end when he's like doing the same thing with like the makeshift, like, you know, wind board or whatever. That's cool. The storm is cool. The ship itself is cool. We could
cool.
probably talk a lot about that.
I want to amend my choice of words here.
No, Griff, I think there was nothing wrong with what you said. I just wanted Emma to come in here. But anyway, sorry, go ahead. No, amend your choice. You're allowed to amend.
No, but I do think there's a distinction I can draw here that will make this conversation easier. I think this film is successfully cool in a lot of the ways you just cited. The distinction for me is there is nothing hip about this movie.
It's
Okay,
not hip.
sure.
It's not a hip movie.
There's
It's true.
nothing. It is incredibly proudly unhip. And that is the thing that the other movies of this time were trying and failing to do to some degree. And this movie doesn't even try to play that game.
It feels like an old story that like some sailor would be telling you.
A sea shanty. Very popular right now.
Oh yeah.
A space
It's in the news.
shanty.
A space shanty.
Now, but answer me this, though. Okay? Is everyone ready?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, they're in these ships. They got sails, but they're out in the open. They're in space. How are they breathing?
There's an answer to this. There's an answer.
Okay.
I was wondering this too.
Okay, please, go ahead.
I was like, rope in space? I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
It's not really explained, and the word only appears once, and it's in the intro. It's like the fourth or fifth word in the entire movie. But they sail through this thing in space called the Ethereum, which is like these paths of air, of atmosphere that like traverse space. And this is how they get around from planet to planet, is like they find air. So that's how they can be on a deck breathing without like a suit.
All I needed to hear. I love it because one, that makes it like a skill, right? You got to navigate, right? These eddies.
You need all those weird little maps and shit.
And two, that's way better than like, oh, it has like a force field you can't see, which would be the boring answer, right? That's like the shitty answer. That's way cooler. This movie got an extra star from you saying that.
Thank you.
It is such a fascinating choice that I deeply respect, that they're like, no, it's just a pirate ship in space.
Right, exactly.
Like they, as Ben said, it still seems to be largely constructed out of wood.
Yep.
It has ropes. There aren't lasers. There isn't a dome over it. When they go into like the fucking cook's quarters, it looks incredibly rustic and shitty. Like it's just, this can fly in space. It's such a clear, like, it speaks to the dorky little boy in Musker and Clements each, that they're just like, why would we change the design? Pirate ships are cool.
Yeah.
Just put a pirate ship in the stars.
The ship looks cool.
Yeah.
It does look cool. Ships are cool. I mean, the old sea ships are cool. I assume, Griff, you've heard, that there was the 70-30 law, right? Their sort of design philosophy was that everything should be 70% traditional, 30% sci-fi, right? Like never go too sci-fi because then you're going to be on an Enterprise. You're going to have metal. You're going to have neon. You're going to have, right? Like then you'll just be a space movie. And that's not what we're going for here. And that makes sense to me. I like that guiding principle.
They wanted it to be like warmer and like more welcoming and not like all like metal and vacuum and scary. Like they wanted it to be sort of like an ocean movie without actually setting it in the ocean.
It's also like 70% hand-drawn, 30% CGI. This is the closest one of these movies comes to being almost a straight hybrid, Because we talked about Musker and Clements really kind of pioneer the integration of CGI into hand-drawn, but it often was just for one character or for one sequence or for one element or something. And this has like 30% of Silver as a character is CGI. All his cyborg parts are CGI, down to even his eye is CGI at every moment.
Love that eye.
Working around hand-drawn, Ben is CGI, the ships are CGI. Some of the
producer
environments
Ben
are
is CGI? This
Producer
whole
Ben is
time?
This
CGI.
whole time.
I'll say, I mean, people have been complaining that we've been forgetting the nicknames, but this one's a slam dunk. Your nickname for this is just BEN.
That's true.
That's your fucking Musker Clements nickname.
Love it.
Stands for Bioelectronic Navigator.
It's a really interesting combination. It's a thing we've probably repeated to death over the course of doing these episodes, but as we're rewatching these movies, comparing them to the modern studio animation landscape, it's like, it's a bummer that hand-drawn was thrown out so entirely because there's so much potential in combining the two.
And this one looks like particularly smooth in a way that a lot of older, and even like just a few years older animated movies that this did not.
No.
Yeah.
There's just a really like carefully designed way that they did the motion in this. I guess probably to work with the fact that a lot of the background stuff was CG, so that it wouldn't look too like two different things trying to be one thing.
This was far and away and still is the most expensive hand-drawn animated film in history. So aside from it just belly flopping at the box office, it was also the biggest spend Disney had ever done on one of these.
$140 million in 2002. That's a lot of money.
140 20 years ago is pretty wild.
It's the kind of treasure that a pirate would want.
There's
Can
also
everyone
this
hear me?
thing.
Is that did that
yes,
come through?
yes.
Okay, sorry.
Absolutely. Disney always prided themselves on sort of fluid character animation, but this one is like liquid, as you said, Emma.
Well, when you watch like Doppler speak, it's just so fun to look at him. Like I love just looking at like his mouth movements and his eyes. Like, and whenever he talks, I'm dialed in 100%.
Well, and Silver is so impressive.
He's
and even
great.
if you remove the CGI elements and you just look at like the face acting and his body and everything, he's so fluid, but also he's so detailed. Like it's the exact kind of thing that these studios usually try to shy away from, because the more detailed a character is, the harder it is to animate, the more lines and shapes you have to track at every point. And he's wearing all these layers. He's got all this kibble on him. He's got all these rolls in his flesh and everything. And his animation is unbelievable. And then you add the CGI pieces onto it. It's pretty stunning.
That's the Glenn Keane job in this movie, Griff,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly.
Yes. Yeah.
I read some interview where someone was like, that's like what Glenn Keane is like saying that Glenn Keane kind of has Long John Silver energy, which seems like fun. That seems like good energy.
He's a fun guy.
Just like a garrulous guy.
It's one of the things that I think makes Long John Silver in all adaptations, in all versions, such a powerful kind of evergreen character, is that it really is hard to track his allegiances at any moment. And I think this movie does a particularly good job with that characterization, especially with the Brian Murray performance, but just where you genuinely question at every point in time whether or not he's being sincere. when he's being rough and rowdy, you question whether that's an act. And when he's being nice to Jim, you question whether that's an act.
Well, he has that whole thing where he, like, right after he gives him the big talk, he's like, oh boy, I better, like, toughen up. I don't want them to see this side of me.
Right.
There is, as much as he is genuinely a scary character, there is a genuine warmth and pathos to him. And I think this script does a really good job of underlining the emotional longing of how much he's committed himself to this goal of finding the treasure. It feels like they frontline more than the sort of greed of I want all that treasure, the idea where it's just like, you don't understand what I've given up in pursuit of this fucking thing.
He has a great line at the end. I know I'm moving ahead, but there's a great line where Jim is like, when they're running out of the exploding shit, and he's like, why did you come back? And he's like, oh, it's a lifelong obsession, I'll get over it. And then the ship comes and picks them up. I just think that's such a great moment. In the book, he knew Captain Flint, right? That was the whole thing.
Yes.
In this, obviously, that's not possible because it's hundreds of years.
Right, because he's more of like a legendary pirate type. Right, but in the book, as far as it's been a long time, but yeah, he was like the quartermaster to Captain Flint or like that, and that's how he, and also, I mean, in the book, he's scarier. He's supposed to be like Flint's like, the man Flint feared, right? Like he's supposed to be more of a rival. And, the Muppets and the Disney, these sand him down a little bit. But there's that, like, there's just a father-son thing, right? Like that's like the sort of weird dynamic.
Right. That's the thing. Because I do think it is a success of both Muppet Treasure Island and this, that they do make him on a relative scale scary. They make him about as scary as those movies can handle, right? But and obviously more adult adaptations of this material will make him even scarier. But there is that thing where, like, even if he's inherently a shitty guy, the paternal nature feels real. That never really feels insincere in any version of Treasure Planet. It's just like, maybe you've identified this guy's one soft spot, but it does feel like that's coming from a real place.
He's cool. I like when you meet him. I mean, we're going through the plot. Look, he finds that fucking map. Emma, it's a sphere map. He gets it from Billy Bones. He's told to beware the cyborg.
Come on, let's not breeze ahead. Billy Bones is a pretty legendary dude.
All right, okay. All right, let's talk about Billy Bones then.
He's a big turtle.
Right. You have your fucking Tony J opening narration that Emma said. You open the book, you close it, you are introduced to Doppler. Jim, when you cut ahead to the future, solar surfing, getting in trouble, being caught by robot bobbies.
Robot cops.
Yes.
I like those RoboCops. They're funny. They make me laugh.
I like that they are programmed to be able to raise their hat as if they're tipping their cap, saying, like, good day.
You take care now.
But that's the thing I think Mustard and Clemens said it was a important difference for them, was that Jim Hawkins is always sort of a very sincere, earnest, sweet kid with a taste for adventure.
Right, usually. And here he's like a teen.
Right.
He's like, he's a little rough.
He's an angsty teen with a skateboard. Yeah.
But Billy Bones crashes into the inn that his mother runs. It's a fucking awesome ass entrance. He crashes, his ship looks like a fucking bowling ball. It crashes in. He's an old turtle man in a big coat.
True. All true. He's played by Patrick McGugan, of course.
Yeah, his final performance. And he just starts going hard about this treasure, which Jim has read about since he was a little boy, but thought was just a legend, and passes on to him the Rubik's Cube, the Rubik's Orb, that will end up being the map to this treasure.
I was going to say, there's another wonderful moment of dialogue when his mom is talking to Doppler when she's inside, and she's looking at her like little locket with like the hologram, like photos of him as a little boy. And he's like, hey, when he was a boy, like he'd always be holding a new pet and begging me to let him keep it. And then he opens the door and it's like him with this terrifying monstrous guy.
Here, I made him my background. He's like a lizard. He's like a Komodo.
He's a turtle.
He's a turtle. That's what he is.
He's like a snapping turtle. Yeah. He looks so fucking cool. But he dies almost immediately, warns them about the cyborg that's going to come after him. And then they come almost immediately.
And I also love when he goes to the window and he opens the window, he opens the little like the part of the window that's like a TV screen to look out. That's so cool.
Right. They're like projecting a sunny day, and then he opens it up and you see that it's pouring rain and there's cyborg pirates coming in to kill him. But yeah, it's like, I like that it's got, you take the Billy Bones character, who's always this sort of like ominous, like, let me tell you a story, kid kind of guy, and you give him this real urgency of like, they're on my tail. They'll get here at any second, you know? Like, you're already in the adventure. This isn't a choice for you. You're caught up in this shit.
And there's stakes because the inn is all smashed up. It's all burned up or whatever.
Yeah.
So you gotta rebuild it.
Right. They escape to Doppler's place. Jim cracks the puzzle. They get the map. He feels validated. The treasure planet is real, and he now has the key to get there. And Doppler agrees to take Jim with him and to fund an exploration.
Truly, so many Disney characters like Doppler, right?
The opening of Atlantis is nearly identical to this.
Yes.
Right.
I was getting
the guy
them
with
confused
papers
in my mind.
You know, like, oh, but sir, all my studies, and it's like, yes, of course, but you know, we couldn't possibly, right? Like that guy, like Beauty and the Beast. Fucking Belle's dad is basically that guy, right? You know, the guy with glasses.
A guy with like a house full of weird like machinery.
Right, inventions. Oh, his inventions.
Yeah.
I would argue that the Sultan is the Doppler of Aladdin.
Yeah, sure. He absolutely is. Except he's so dumb. Oh, what a dumb sweetie he is.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be in charge of Agrabah, Griffin. They really need to change things.
But all of this is really efficient. It's also where the difference in pacing when you don't have songs kind of becomes apparent, because you have the sort of Jim I want moment is him sitting on the roof listening to his mom shit talk him to Doppler, throwing stones, just being sort of ornery. And you're sort of programmed with this art style to have Jim like jump off the roof and take a walk in the woods and sing I Can Go the Distance. But instead, that scene is punctuated by a fucking turtle man crashing and dying.
We're making this movie sound like fucking the best, I gotta say.
I mean, I like this movie.
I know,
yeah.
I like it too.
It's because it is the best.
I'll tell you another pet peeve of mine. It's when you want good help and the only thing available is worse help. It feels so counterintuitive because you're walking around shaking the can, the tin cup, saying, please give me some good help. And people go, I don't know, bad help, worse help. And you go, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Well, our friends at BetterHelp heard the call. And that's why they're offering better help. Okay? Like, for example, let's say there's something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals. Like, I don't know, a global pandemic. Well, BetterHelp can assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating under 48 hours. And this isn't a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. It's better, not worse. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas, depending on where you live and what, I don't know, what businesses exist here. I mean, listen, the service is available for clients worldwide. That's the point. That's the headline here. And you can log into your account anytime, send a message to your counselor. It's on your own schedule, which is good because we're all time shifting everything right now, right? I mean, who can be bothered? In the words of the kids, I can't even anymore. I can't even. Cannot even. You're going to get timely and thoughtful responses when you want them. And you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions if you want to be rigid. So, you don't have to sit in some uncomfortable waiting room, as with traditional therapy, a waiting room that is now undoubtedly filled with germs. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. And financial aid is available. It's a helpful resource, making it more accessible to anyone who wants it. BetterHelp wants you, the listener. David, I'm not talking about you. Emma, I'm not talking about you. Ben, I'm not talking about you. No disrespect. I'm talking royal you. You're included in the umbrella. I'm saying this to anyone listening, not any one specific person. They want you to start living a happier life today. So here's what you got to do. You got to visit their website, read their testimonials that are posted daily at betterhelp.com/reviews. And then you can visit betterhelp.com/check. That's better, HELP, and join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, you know what? In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. That's job creation. You can't even argue with that. That's job creation. So I just want to take this moment to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring our podcast, and also to just let Blank Check listeners know that they can get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/check. That's betterhelp.com/check. Now let's go back to talking about what were we talking about?
Okay, so they commissioned the RLS Legacy. This is the ship.
Of course, you gotta mention the fact that the spaceport is the crescent moon that they've been seeing out the window this whole time.
Very cool.
Correction, Emma, you gotta mention that.
I gotta mention it.
I give you full reign to mention anything we're glossing over.
There's
That
a
is
lot of
very
stuff.
much your role in this episode.
Griff, I feel like the teaser you were talking about opened with the crescent,
Yes.
and then we zoom in and we
Yes.
see that the crescent's like a spaceport, and that's cool. Love that. But yeah, they commissioned the ship, the RLS Legacy, named after RLS, Robert Louis Stevenson, right? That's the joke,
Mhm.
I assume.
Yep.
And you got Captain Amelia. You got Emma Thompson here. She's a cat lady.
And you have Arrow, who's maybe my favorite character design in the movie.
The Rock Man.
So cool.
Yeah. So cool.
Played by Roscoe Lee Brown from Barney Miller. Dies in this movie. I know that Mr.
Yeah.
Arrow dies in the book. Like, I know that's
Yeah.
but like, how many Disney movies does a character who's not evil die like midway through?
Yeah. And isn't a parent.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You can lead off with a parent death thing, right? Yeah, but like, just in the middle of the movie, it's like, well, he's dead, and it's like, he is. We're not going to go get him. It's like, no, fell off.
And it was
fell
tragic.
off the fucking. And it was tragic.
It was tragic. It was sad.
Because even like Muppet Treasure Island gets around that by having Arrow fake his death. Like they were like, we can't kill Sam the Eagle. So he pretends he's dead, and then he like cakes himself in flour and pretends he's a ghost to scare the other pirates.
Right.
But
right.
this one, they just straight up fucking kill the guy.
He looks like, so Griff, what is he? He's like a rock monster? Like, what's his vibe?
Yeah, he's like a rock. He's like a fucking golem.
He's a boulder boy. I mean,
I wonder if there's a
Yeah.
species name for this. Some of them don't have names, but other ones do.
He looks sort of like the big rock guy from Neverending Story.
he looks
Uh-huh.
like The Rock, kind of too.
Yeah, or he looks like a rock. But
That
he's a big fucking square-jawed, broad-shouldered rock. Like just all fucking
Doppler
like
thinks he's the captain because he's so captain-y.
yeah, but he's just fucking classy too. He's got this fucking killer red like petticoat.
There's no explanation for what he is. He's just a rock-like being. And he and the captain have had like they're friends. They've been together for a long time. So it sucks when he dies because then she's sad.
I'm realizing that I probably like him so much because he's just a fancy version of the Thing from the Fantastic Four.
But that's cool. What if the thing
Yeah,
was
that's
fancy?
really cool. Yeah, that's really
That would be
fucking
good.
cool. Yeah. But yeah, their
but
dynamic is really nice. Yeah.
Amelia is cool too. I like Amelia. I like Emma Thompson. Basically, she's money in the bank for me. Like I'm down with Emma Thompson being a competent.
I'm surprised by this. You like Emma Thompson playing a bossy, round-faced space captain? Those don't sound
with a
like
little tricorner hat.
you don't like any of those elements, David.
She's got cool boots too.
Yeah, she's got cool boots.
I feel like Emma Thompson I was saying this off mic, she's game. Like, what other cartoons has she done, Griff? I feel like she's done some other voices.
She quit the John Lasseter movie. She was supposed to be the lead voice in this Skydance animated movie called Luck. And then when
She quit,
Lasseter
right.
was ousted, Skydance hired Lasseter away to be their chief creative officer. And Emma Thompson wrote a big public letter saying she could not support it.
I remember that.
Why am I...
Good move by her. She's in Brave. She's the queen.
Right, she's the mother in Brave. Is there another one?
And she apparently she's the Yeti elder in Missing Link, which I did see, but I sort of
Yes, she's actually really good in that. Yeah.
And then of course she's the parrot in Doolittle, another movie set mostly on a ship.
Oh jeez.
Did you see Doolittle, Griff? I forget.
No.
Did you make it to Doolittle?
No,
Did you make it around to that one?
I've been doing a lot less this year, and I pretty much did none on that front.
She's kind of the lead animal. That's like his right-hand man is the parrot.
It's that thing. I mean, I feel like I talk about with you a lot, but that fascinating thing where, like, for how much she's viewed as being like, oh, this very serious, prestigious actor here in the States, because her breakthrough was being in fucking Branagh Shakespeare movies and Merchant Ivory movies and adapting Sense and Sensibility herself. Like, she's this classical actress. It's like, no, she's like started out as a sketch comedian. That's like her background.
Yep.
She has no ego. She has no pretension, you know?
She's sort of a weirdo.
She's
there's
fun.
that video of her, like, I don't know if she was like drunk or pretending to be drunk at some awards show where she was just like talking, and everyone loved it because it was delightfully funny.
She's so fucking funny. And it's like, you know, when she hosts SNL, people were like, oh, I'm surprised she's like this game. And it's like, this is what she did. Like, to some degree in interviews, she reads like she's uncomfortable with how seriously American audiences view her.
She's got a Perrier Award, my friends. It's a comedy award of Britain.
Right,
So-
right. And she was part of Footlights and
Great.
everything. I mean, she came up with Fry and Laurie, and yeah.
Exactly.
I should mention that
And she's good in this.
my background on Zoom, the creepy wax sculpture of Jim Hawkins, it is a photo of Emma Thompson standing behind it, smiling.
With her husband, Greg Wise,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming one of their children. Otherwise, Greg Wise, I suppose, has just gathered up a random child. But I'm going to assume it's their
We want to
offspring.
imagine he didn't just steal a kid. What
He
are you gonna say?
genuinely looks like he's doing like Jim Hawkins cosplay in this photo.
He's dressed
does.
almost exactly like Jim Hawkins, but the point is, David, you looked at this, and Emma Thompson is standing over this terrifying wax Jim Hawkins shoulder, and she's got the biggest, most genuine smile, and you just said, wow, she really is just game for anything.
Yeah, she's game. She's like, where are we going? Okay, let's bring the kids to that one.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. They'll like it. They'll like the thing. Yeah.
Which I
and then
also-
she's like, I'm in the movie with this guy.
I want to point out,
She's pointing to the
this opened in February. This opened 5 months after this movie had been an atomic bomb, and she's like, yeah, I'll go to the opening.
Maybe because back in the day, things really would open in Britain way later. Like I know now they sort of do the global
Sure.
release. Like, is it possible?
It's possible.
It came out that much later in Britain because in Britain the Thanksgiving release is not a thing. That's not no one cares. Let's see. When did it come out in the UK? February.
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Okay.
It was, but nonetheless, as you say, Griffin, she knows the thing's a stink. Like it is not a hit. It's not like it's going to make up all its money in the UK because they hear Emma Thompson plays a cat in it.
No, I also saw like the Disney blogs when I was looking up this thing because I'd gone to this. My family went to England around that time, like that spring of 2003. And we went to Tussauds, and there was like that thing included with the admission was Treasure Planetarium, which was the London Planetarium where attendance had gone down. They remodeled after Treasure Planet, and it was an entirely Treasure Planet themed laser light show narrated by Silver. And it had these two sculptures outside of it. And it was just my mom, Romilly, and myself, I think. I guess James must have been with us, but my dad wasn't there. And we remember saying like, oh, it's included in the admission. Do we want to do this? And everyone kind of went like, why not? And Romilly said, what is this? And I said, this is that movie you saw 4 months ago.
And she was like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
That never happened.
Yeah.
I didn't see no Treasure Planet.
But it was so bizarre to be sitting there and have it treated like, oh, it's your favorite characters from Treasure Planet back again, living here. And it was just like, back in the States, we moved the fuck on from this movie.
It's over, guys.
Yeah.
You stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not gonna happen.
So I was looking at like old Disney blogs that were reporting on when this opened, and they said like, even though the movie had failed, the attendance ended up being pretty good on Treasure Planetarium because the film became a surprising hit in the UK after bombing in the US. And I was like, surprising hit. It grossed $10 million.
I mean, I guess that's fine. Doesn't seem like a huge hit to me.
No, it also just speaks to how
know.
much smaller international box office grosses were 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's almost, that's not that far from its total American gross. So I guess that's something. But no, that's not that good. Anyway.
Okay, so
Treasure Planet. They're on the boat.
Yeah.
I'm jealous that I didn't get to see this Treasure Planetarium thing. I would have loved it. I feel like
You would have loved it. I'm going to see if I can find like a YouTube video of it.
So, yeah, but we're on the boat. We meet a really important character. His name is Mr. Snuff. He speaks flatuli. What is the language?
Flatula.
Flatula, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean,
he's just got like
noise.
a lot of yeah, he's got a lot of sort of noses. What would you call these little things?
He's got like a
buttholes. Like sticking out buttholes. Yeah.
He's got like little what do you even call them? They're almost like tentacles.
It's like suction cup things.
Yeah.
But he can blow air through them, I guess. He looks like a big sea slug is what he looks like.
He sure does.
He's got little flesh horns, and the horns make toots, and the toots are farts. And that's how he talks.
That's language.
Ben, another one of your favorite character dynamics is represented in the crew of this ship. Big guy who's also a little guy.
Hell yeah. Yep.
You're a big fan of this, the Master Blaster, the
Quado.
The classic Quado. This takes it a step further where it's guy whose head is a squid and then he talks out of his tummy. And there's kind of two separate people, but they mostly stack on top of each other.
His body is a face, I guess, is how you'd put it, right?
Right.
What's that guy's name?
His head's a body and his body's a face.
His character names are Oxy and Moron. Just want to point that out.
Oh, shit.
Ben!
Damn, that's a good fucking duo name, too. Fuck.
Emma, do you have, like, action figures?
I wish I
or
did.
Or anything, like...
I don't. I was actually looking up recently, like, how much it would be to, like, get them. And some of them are a little bit expensive, weirdly. Oh, you know what is expensive? Is the art book, the official art book.
Sure.
The cheapest one that I could find is $220.
Jeez.
They probably printed like 100
Yeah, there's
of
like
those.
100 of them in the world. Like, that's it.
Right.
And they'll never print them
and
again.
then someone just rushed in and was like, what are you doing? Stop this. We're not gonna, no one's buying these. Print enough for the families of the crew and then we're done.
Yep.
Yes. Anyone else cool on the crew? Obviously, I love the introduction of Long John Silver where he's doing the cooking. I think that in the way his arm works. I mean, that's the best.
The way that you don't see it at first, and then he turns and he does like the little bow, and then you see everything is really cool.
Excuse me, are we not going to talk about Scroop?
Okay, please keep going. This is the energy I love.
I mean, I feel like Emma is the one who should introduce us to the evil bug man.
He's a big bug.
Yes.
He's a big bug.
He's played by I looked it up by Michael Wincott. This is why I just wanted to shout out Michael Wincott, who I was rude about.
We were shitting on.
Was it the Alien Resurrection commentary?
Correct.
Where I'm like, there's 10 people who can give me what this guy's giving me. People were like, how dare you come from Michael Wincott, the legendary villain of The Crow? And I was like, all right, sorry.
Right, but in our defense, when we watch the movies on commentary, we have the sound on, but the volume is lower, and 90% of Michael Wincott's appeal is his voice.
Yes.
So we were just
and
looking.
That's why he's
mostly at his
bug.
physical performance. Right.
The man makes a good bug. He gives good bug.
A great bug. Yeah.
Oh God, he's great. His voice is so scary. I was watching it. I watched it half on my TV, and then I switched to headphones for the last part because I just sort of wanted to have headphones on. My sound is not great in my apartment, and him talking is terrifying.
Yeah. It does not feel like a vocal performance that belongs in a Disney movie. It's genuinely upsetting.
Yeah, he's a little too scary. Again, and also just there's just not a lot in this movie that's. I mean, yes, okay, you have the fart alien. I get, but like they possibly because there's no songs, they're not cutting the energy, right? Like, so you're kind, it's a little more PG, I guess, is how you'd put it, right? I assume this was a PG movie.
I think he's the only member of the cast who kills somebody.
Yeah. And brags about it.
Yeah.
Is like proud of it.
He's a bastard.
He's a bad guy.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, he's a fucking rat bastard.
Worse than the big villain of the movie.
Well, this is my question for you, Emma, since you seem to be more familiar with the original text, and I'm just colored by Muppet Treasure Island, and I just only keep on cross-referencing this movie against Muppet Treasure Island. Even though I've read Treasure Planet at some point, my default is, well, that's the original version of the tale, the one with the fucking beaker. There isn't really an analog for this character in the story, right?
It's Hands. Israel Hands is the bad guy, and he is in the movie.
Okay.
Can you guess who he is? Which of the aliens he is named Hands?
The alien.
I'll give you a hint. The hands are prominent in his design.
Huh. Why am I forgetting this and I just watched this?
Because there's a lot of fucking aliens.
He doesn't really have any lines. I think he has one line.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
The
this
big
guy.
guy.
The big guy who's just kind of got hands. Yes.
He's pretty cool.
But he's not really a villain. He's just sort of one of the pirates.
No, I mean, Scroop feels to me a little bit like them trying to take some of the menace away from Silver so that he can be a more redeemable character.
You needed him to be the one to do a really bad thing so that Silver can disapprove of it. Yeah. And then be sort of like a little bit threatened by that as well, with his like standing with his crew is like, well, okay, well, if I can't, get first blood with these people, do they even need me?
Yeah, I mean, Scroop lets Silver be redeemable as a character and also gives the movie a villain they can defeat.
Mm-hmm. And one that they can really dislike.
Right. It just is so fascinating that Silver's like half villain, half the genie of this movie in a way. Like he's like, he was so centered, I feel like, in terms of like, this is our best character. This is the new Disney character that's going to go down in the annals of our great casts.
Yeah, he'll get a descendant in the Descendants movies.
Right. It is so funny, like, the way you talk about this movie and how well you know it and how you shared it with friends and stuff, this does feel like a movie that is designed to have that sort of online following, people charting the species and like considering the extended universe and all of that. And it doesn't feel like Disney was playing that game at all. As much as they did really like promote this thing and try to push it, I don't think they really understood how to sell like a dorky thing like this, how to make something appealing to people who want to spend time thinking about fictional worlds.
It was sort of designed to be like a cult object, I think.
Right.
And there was no way that they could get out of that.
Right. Like this should have had like a tie-in series of like young adult paperbacks, Like having a second video game set 5 years later makes sense. But there should have been a ton of shit like that. And it feels like they didn't prep any of that.
Well,
and
they did. They had a whole sequel planned where Jim, like, he goes to like the Naval Academy. He gets a love interest, which was like very important to me because that was like my one note as a 9-year-old watching this movie is like, he doesn't have like anyone to crush on. Like, I kind of wish that he had a crush. That was what was going to be in the sequel, was like they were going to he was going to go to school and he met like a girl, and then they had
there's a girl involved.
They had to team up with Silver again to stop like a bad pirate, a worse pirate.
Kate, his classmate at the Royal Interstellar Academy, was gonna team up with him and Silver to stop the villainous Ironbeard from freeing the inmates of a Botany Bay prison asteroid. This sounds like a fucking blast. Let's make it happen right now. Willem Dafoe was on board to play Ironbeard.
He was like signed on. No, almost signed on. I don't think he actually signed anything, but they were like, he's gonna do it.
Now, here's my question. Was this supposed to be theatrical or was it supposed to be straight to video?
It was mold for both. You know what I mean? Like, I suppose if this thing had been a huge hit, then you could have taken it right to I don't know, right?
That's the thing. How I remembered it was, like, at this point in time, the machinery is so in place that by the time these movies come out in theaters, they're 6 months away from dropping the direct-to-video sequel, and they're already deep into the TV series, right? All of these had that ready to go. And this is kind of the one movie of this era that didn't get any of those things. Like, even after Atlantis flopped, they released the first 3 episodes of the canceled TV show as a sequel movie. You know, Hercules, the sequel got canceled, but the TV show happened. I mean, they just like they pushed all of these uphill. Even like Emperor's New Groove got a cartoon much later.
Emperor's New School.
Right. This
He goes
didn't
to school.
get anything. And I think part of that is because their ambitions for this were a lot bigger. Like, it felt like rather than have the cash-in direct-to-video sequel that could come out 6 months later, they held off in the hopes that this movie might be big enough that we could actually make an animated franchise.
Yeah, that's sort of what they were going for. I don't think like Disney itself was sort of was thinking that far, but I know that the people involved in this particular movie are like, yes, we're gonna do this whole thing. We're gonna do a sequel, maybe a TV. You know, they had it in the bag.
All they got was a fucking naval strategy PC game. That's what they ended up with.
Yeah, which David has already ordered a copy of.
I am intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny it. I mean, we're going to, wait, when's this episode posting? I don't want to, no, everyone knows we're doing Star Trek. Yes. When we get to Wrath of Khan, obviously, like, I love a space thing that just, you know, invested with old naval energy, right? Like, that's my favorite thing. A great blending of genres, right? Like, and that's what this is doing, and that's great. I could almost do with more of it, but I like the sort of the middle of this movie where Jim is trying to prove himself, and it's, you know, just life on the ship is sort of cliquish and tough, and he can't, you know, pull his weight, or he's right. Like, I like all that stuff. I like all the sort of like life on the boat.
Their
stuff.
dynamic is genuinely very endearing, and it becomes more endearing when the Jim character is less eager than he's usually depicted as being, when he's a little bit closed off, you know? There's something nice about both of them having to break through to the other one. But it is so jarring when that fucking Goo Goo Dolls song comes in. And I will say, I kind of like that song on its own, especially as like a 2002 like pop rock time capsule. I think it's a pleasant
we
song,
gotta talk about.
but when that song comes in, it's just like, man, this movie is a weird combination of fucking things. Like, I'm watching like a father-son relationship bonding montage set with pirates on a spaceship to a Goo Goo Dolls original track.
I think that was another like we're gonna go for the boy audience thing that then backfired and made sense more for the girl audience. Like, because girls love Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah,
perfect illustration. Right. Yeah.
It's clear they picked the Goo Goo Dolls because Iris had been so big, but Iris was like a romance movie. That song crossed over as kind of like a sad love song. They're not like a badass rock band at this point in time, you know? And all of their early fans turned against them when Iris happened, and they were like, oh, they sold out. They become the soundtrack guys. And then it felt like Disney thought bringing them on would make this movie edgier.
Ben, do you have a Goo Goo Dolls take? I don't know. Where are you on Goo Goo Dolls?
I mean, that's a bad name.
Wow, you're out on the name. I see. No, it's a very 90s name, Goo Goo Doll. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Iris is kind of undeniable, though, right?
Iris
That's
is
what I was
so
gonna
good.
say. Iris fucks. It's good.
It's really hard to be cynical about Iris, and this is like sort of like, you know, like dollar store Iris, but that's still pretty good. It's still fun to listen to.
It is very
It's just-
similar to Iris.
It's also just your brain starts to short circuit because you're so used to see these movies having these musical sequences, and to see a fast cut montage set to this song is just like, this feels wrong. This shouldn't be happening.
It's so jarring. It's so jarring in a Disney movie. It's like when, and this is the same year, when Star Trek Enterprise debuted, and it had a theme song with lyrics rather than the usual, you know, sort of James Hornery, Jerry Goldsmith kind of, and you're just like, no, they're not supposed to. Like, no, you can't. I don't want to hear about people's feelings. Like, I just want to hear sweeping music. And I respect the swing. Like, it's not something Disney really went for again. I guess like Wreck-It Ralph has musical montage. I'm trying to think of like
Wreck-It Ralph,
other Disneys.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to the other side, I mean, no, with the CGI movies, it happens. Chicken Little opens with a fucking, I think a Bare Naked Ladies song. I mean, Wreck-It Ralph has like fucking Owl City and shit. Like it happens until they get back into the princess musicals. They do have pop songs and montages like this. There's something just jarring about it when you're so used to. There's this thing, I mean, it's like part of the issue with why in America animation has always been pigeonholed as a genre, right? Whereas in other countries, it's seen as a more versatile thing. It can fit into different genres. It could be for adults, whatever. Is that for American audiences, it feels like whatever the first major film is in any medium defines what genre people think that medium is, right? So like Snow White is the breakthrough in hand-drawn, and people are like, that's what hand-drawn movies look like. That's what they sound like. Those are the kinds of stories you adapt, and they have music in them. And then Toy Story is the first big CGI, and people are like, they're a little snarkier. They got this sort of adult edge. They're more like
modern setting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a fantasy world. It's what if this thing was a little different than what you know? You know, it's what if you go to a slightly adjacent world rather than Fantasyland, and you're adapting original stories or more modern stories or whatever it is. And then like Nightmare Before Christmas does kind of define that most stop motion films are creepy. That, I mean, that's predominantly the thing. And I just think there is like, by the time you get to fucking Chicken Little having Bare Naked Ladies, it's lame, but it doesn't stick out as much because you're just like, I don't know, but Shrek's fucking shitting to All-Star. It doesn't matter, you know? Whereas with this, it just feels odd. I do want to point out, David, because you mentioned Star Trek twice now. Do you know that one of the original reasons why this film was sidelined by Eisner and Katzenberg, the first time it was pitched in 1985, they had just left Paramount to come to Disney, and so they knew what Paramount had on the docket, and the plan at that point, I don't know if it would have been Star Trek 5 or 6.
It would have been around there, yeah.
Wasn't it?
It would have been 4
never made?
or 5.
Right.
It was never made.
They wanted to do Star Trek Treasure Island.
It was going to be, I guess, this sort of, right?
Yeah.
Like someone's on a ship and it turns out there's like, right? Like you could do that in a Star Trek world, I guess.
That'd be cool. I'd watch that.
I guess it would be cool. I have such complicated feelings about Star Trek movies because I'm like, just make them, you know, like that's where I'm like primarily at, you know, they keep hemming and hawing and I'm just like, just fucking do one.
Yeah,
like stop.
You're going to have a lot of real estate to share those thoughts.
Okay. All right. You're right. Okay. He's yanking on the leash because I'm going off it.
The only Star Trek we're talking about is the RLS Legacy sailing to Treasure Planet.
Thank you.
Just to get
for
everyone
steering
back on
us.
task.
Steering the ship back in the right direction.
We forgot to shout out that is it Jim's home planet is called Montresor?
Mm-hmm.
Great name. Love that. That's super cool.
I don't think that it's an Edgar Allan Poe reference.
Come on. I mean, it is, right? Like, I mean, at least they think it's a cool name. I don't know if it's anything more than that.
I think they're spelled differently. I think Montresor and Amontillado is one S.
Right.
I've looked. Trust me, I've looked this shit up.
I believe you. I believe
this is a pet peeve of mine that I think this movie impressively avoids. Scenes where people are lying and the actor or the movie or both feel the need to telegraph in the performance, oh, this guy's lying and he can't kind of keep his story straight. And you're just like, you would sniff it out.
Mm. You would see it on their face when they're like, no, I didn't say that.
Right, and you're just like, you're trying to telegraph to the audience that this person isn't to be trusted, but in the process, it makes your lead character seem stupid that they're not suspicious. And I like that the Silver scene, the introduction of Silver, when Jim meets him cooking, he plays it so well. Like, Silver's a really good actor in terms of seeming confused by everything Jim is asking him about, you know?
Bones?
Yeah.
Billy Bones?
Right, there's no nervousness, there's no shiftiness, he's sort of distracted, he's like, what are you talking about? But it's like very sincere.
And it's only when he sees like the last of Jim's feet like go up the stairs as he shifts to like,
right.
All right, this one's going to be a problem.
Look, we all like this movie, okay? We're not arguing here, but David, I really need you to shut up for approximately a minute or two, okay? I just have something really important to say, and I can barely get a word in edgewise on this podcast, and I just feel like after being stuck indoors all winter, I'm ready to say good riddance. You know? And as excited as I am to get outside, I haven't been looking forward to getting the plants in shape, you know? I mean, some people have a green thumb, and good for them. Great. But some of us need a hand. We have to borrow someone else's hand that has a green thumb, a palm, and that's why I love Bloomscape. They make it easy to find the perfect plants for your space and keep them growing all year long. Okay, listen, Bloomscape delivers healthy plants right to your door. Plus all the grow-how, there's a little funny wordplay there, it's like a joke, you need to help them thrive. You find the perfect plants for wherever you live, whether you got tons of light or hardly any. Thousands of people have already upgraded their spaces with beautiful indoor plants from Bloomscape. And now Bloomscape is taking it outside with their new outdoor bloom kit. David, please hold on to that thought. I really need to get this off my chest. I received a plant from Bloomscape. It was a prickly pear cactus. I thought it was funny. I thought it was the funniest one I could get. But it's nice. It looks nice. It comes in a nice pot. And I also like that it feels low maintenance. I got the one that's not going to take a lot of work to take care of because I'm not a very responsible person. But maybe you want a house full of handfuls. Maybe you want succulents growing all over the place like a wild jungle. You could do it. It's easy. It's easy. You go on the website. You can pick anything you want. It arrives in a nice box. You get a nice little pot. You got everything you need, okay? I mean, listen. Bloomscape's bloom kits are completely customizable. You mix and match sizes and colors, and since no two plants are alike, Bloomscape makes it easy to filter plants by how much light or attention they need. Get a mix of annual plants, complementary colors and needs, everything growing in harmony. The Grow team is always available to answer any of your plant questions. David, I see that look in your eye. Just sit on it. Because this is mandatory. I have to tell our listeners, you can get 15% off plant orders of $100 with promo code BLANK at bloomscape.com. Don't leave the field blank, you silly goose. What you gotta do if you want 15% off your plant orders of $100 or more, you type in bloomscape.com and then you type in promo code BLANK. Bloomscape, get yourself a plant. Are you happy now, David? I finally got to say something on this show. Now we should talk about Morph.
We love Morph.
How have we not mentioned Morph?
We love him.
I mean, because this is Morph's introduction.
Yeah.
I guess that's right. I guess it's right. Of course, he's with John.
I mean, he had to have been pinned as the great merchandising hope of this movie, right? They must have thought,
yes.
Yeah.
But how do you make that into a
can
toy?
You buy a Morph toy?
Is it just, I guess it's just a plastic blob? Like, you can't, doesn't exist.
There was a Morph toy they made that was like a rubbery blob, but it was sort of like a talk boy. So you could talk into it and then Morph would parrot what you said.
Oh, okay, that's fun. That's what he does.
That was, I think, their main gimmick. But I'm looking here, all the action figures came with a Morph that was sort of to scale with a kid rather than to scale with the figures. And inside the Morph was a treasure. You wouldn't know what you were getting until you opened it up.
That's cool.
But it just feels like Morph is just fucking designed to be as adorable as possible.
He's so cute.
Yeah, because there's two big toys. It's Morph and Ben, but right. Morph is the cute guy, right? Ben's the cool robot.
The expensive electronic toy. But Morph is also Morph is like good blarp.
He is good blarp. I mean, not that if we have to, of course, acknowledge Blarp's major role in fighting the spiders. I can't remember the name of the villains, but no, yeah, he's good blarp. He's the parrot, right? Like that's the role he's occupying.
That's why he mimics things.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which
See?
I think that's cute. And I like his little noises. I feel like Morph is the closest you get in this movie to like, oh, fuck off. Like, you just put that in to sell toys. Right. But like, I kind of like Morph. I don't know. I think Morph's great.
I think he's successful. They don't overdo him. It's also like, we've been watching these movies now, and increasingly they have 5 characters like this each. Mm-hmm. And this movie has 1.
And he doesn't really have any lines.
Right. They don't overdo it.
The scene that I love him in is when Silver tells Jim to like swab the dick or whatever. And he's like, Morph, watch, keep an eye on him. And then Morph's eyes get really, really big. It's the perfect comic moment.
He's good. I like Morph. Morph's all right. He's all right by me.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
And he like gets people in trouble by like mimicking them, like talking shit about other people. He nearly gets everybody in trouble.
When he like pretends to be the map later and all, I like all that. Like, they use the premise of Morph well.
That's what I'm saying about this movie. There's nothing in this movie that goes to waste, that they like set up and then they just don't really do anything with.
It's true. Even, I mean, like the solar surfing and all of that.
That comes
the knot
right
tying.
back.
Yeah, everything comes back. It's a pretty tight screenplay.
Written by Musker and Clements and Rob Edwards, but story by Elliott and Rossio. Rob Edwards, though, one of those guys, right? He works with them on Princess and the Frog as well. He's a big sitcom guy. Anyway, look, there's a mutiny. Let's get to Treasure Planet, guys. Let's talk about Treasure Planet.
We haven't gotten
to bed yet.
We're not going to talk about the dad montage, the sad dad montage.
Emma, you have every moment in your brain.
No, I just think it's good. I think it's nice. It's good when he goes in like in the montage, in the Goo Goo Dolls song, when he's like helping Silver put the skiff out, and then he, Silver jumps in and leaves, and he has that like, memory flash of him being a little child and his like dad going out to the boat and leaving. But then you go back to the present and Silver comes back and he's like, get in, bud, let's go. That's so sweet.
Their relationship is genuinely sweet. I also like that in that montage, they show that the dad was unattentive even before he left.
Mm-hmm.
That it's
when he
not
shows
just
him the little boat and he's like, whatever.
Right, that it's not just abandonment as an issue for this guy. It's also just that he could never get through to this dude, and then he disappeared,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's all good, yes. And then Jim follows Morph into a barrel of space fruit. I guess this happens after the arrow thing, right? There's the storm.
Oh yeah, you have the storm.
The storm.
We can't forget about the storm.
Storm is cool.
The storm is cool
because that's the black hole and all that.
A star goes supernova and then immediately turns into a black hole within like 20 minutes of movie time. It's cool.
Scroop kills Mr. Arrow by cutting his line and blaming it on Jim.
It's a story gift that Jim is a fuck up because it means you can blame shit on him. I mean, you have this whole like everyone's doubting him. People think he's not gonna amount to anything, that he's somehow gonna be incompetent in his job.
And then it's like when he really tries, which he was doing during that whole thing, and then he fucks up again, and it's all the more sad.
It encourages his cynicism. Like, I tried my hardest, I really did, and people still think I'm a fuck up. Why should I do anything? Right.
Then you have Silver's big speech.
Mm-hmm.
Kid, you got the sun and the stars in you.
I mean, how dare I paraphrase in front of you?
Then there's the mutiny. There's the right. That's what's next,
so
right?
It's a space mutiny, but
right. He follows Morph into the space barrel filled with space fruits, and he hears them having their argument about why is this taking so long? We killed one of them. Why can't we kill the other 3?
He hears Silver be like, I didn't mean all those things that I said to that stupid kid.
Right, because they're like, we heard your fucking corny speech. You think you're in some goddamn Disney movie?
And he's like, no, I'm not. I swear, this film's cool for teenagers.
We said we would have Shrek energy at all times. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Scroop goes, somebody.
Exactly.
But I like how fast that moves. It's like he hears it happening. Silver's like, keep it level. Jim comes out of the barrel, notices the spyglass, realizes Silver's coming back down to him, and they're just both smart enough to know that the other one knows. Jim stabs him in the leg, and fucking chaos, mutiny ensues.
They get to Treasure Planet. Emma, what am I forgetting here?
They have
They
have
get sort of
that
shot down.
encounter during the mutiny where Morph is like going back and forth and is like, I don't know which one to go to, with the map in his mouth. And he goes into the ropes, and Jim pulls what he thinks is the map out, and he runs to the boat, and then Silver tries gonna shoot him, and then he can't do it because he likes him.
He likes him too much. And you have this kind of cool escape sequence. I mean, the thing where Doppler says that's more fun than I ever want to have in my life.
Ben, was there something we were forgetting? I feel like you had.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
Well,
okay.
I had thoughts about the planet.
Okay, about Treasure Planet.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, well, now we're here.
We're here.
Okay. I'm promised a planet, a treasure planet.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Ben's sharpening a knife right now?
A whole planet's a treasure. A whole planet's a treasure. That's what you were promised. Yeah.
This is what I'm promised.
Yeah.
We get to the planet. It's not shaped like a chest.
You wanted there to be a rectangular with like a lock in it, maybe.
I wanted them to turn a big old lock and then go into the planet. This is what I was expecting.
Ben, I thought I knew where that complaint was going.
Me too.
You could have given me
too.
25 guesses and I never would have come up with. My disappointment is that the planet isn't a chest with a lock on it.
Oh, good. That's when Ben, if he's in the theater, angrily stands up and his popcorn goes everywhere and he's like, we gotta get out of here.
I thought your complaint was going to be the treasure is only the core, the surface is junk.
Right.
Oh.
Why isn't it like a planet made of coins, for example?
Sure.
But no, Ben plus
You like that. So if the planet was exactly the same as it is, if it was junk surface, coin core, but it was housed inside a treasure chest with a giant lock and key.
Yeah.
This movie would be
Then
10 out
I'm
of
on
10 for
board.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yet another layer to the puzzle.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a pretty cool looking. It's got a double ring thing
Looks
going on.
Looks like a skull and crossbones.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah. Also, Kira's where you're introduced to what is unsurprisingly my favorite character in the film.
I was going to say, I just figured this was your guy.
Yeah.
I figured, Ben, for one, you love Ben. And for two, you love Marty Short.
Yeah. I mean, no one's funnier than Marty Short. I love.
This is the role you would play.
Absolutely. I love Benz in general. I love robots. I'm almost always going to be inclined towards a robot. But I think about, despite not having rewatched this film since 2002, I think about this movie a lot in terms of, I think this is one of the most successful instances of a character being introduced this late in a film and feeling important,
It's really late.
being effective, being entertaining, having an arc. Like, usually you introduce a character this late and it's just like you're getting distracted, you're putting too much on the plate, there's not enough time, the character gets short shrift, or you're taken away from the main thrust of the movie. But this works. And he's really introduced in like the last 20 minutes and really feels like a pivotal part of the movie.
I think it's more like 40 minutes.
I'm not going to question you on time codes. I guess he's introduced in the last 30.
I did check to see like how much time they spend on the ship and how much they spend on the planet, and it's kind of equal.
It just takes a while to get to him.
It takes a while. I mean, he's based on the character from the book. What's
Ben Gunn.
Ben Gunn, yeah.
Who's the guy who's on the island, and
he also knew
but
Captain Flint. Obviously, he's like one of his crew members who was marooned, so he's gone crazy. But since the time escape in this movie is so long, they had to make something that would live for long enough to.
He's lost his mind,
literally.
Doesn't know where to find
That's
it.
what I love.
And just to make it clear, because we're talking about what Ben Gunn usually represents in different adaptations of Treasure Island. I don't remember which one in particular, but in some adaptations, he is a very fabulous pig who has become a diva from being stranded that long on an island by herself.
and at any point does she say hiya? Is that something that comes up?
Probably. That's the thing I like in Muppet Treasure Island, though, that it's like not Sam Arrow, but the captain and Ben Gunn have this romance, and she's mostly angry at the fact that he left her there on the island by herself.
Which is fair.
Yeah. and then they sing to each other while hanging upside down from a rope at the edge of a cliff. That movie fucking rules.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. I should rewatch it, but we'll do it one day.
Brian Henson, underrated director. I don't blame him for Happy Time Murders, but I'm telling you, you look at Christmas Carol, you look at Treasure Island, he was a good visual stylist.
He was. I mean, they're good looking movies.
I think he had the potential to have like a Frank Oz career, and I feel like he got stuck with sort of feeling like he needed to run the legacy. We were talking about the genie sort of beginning of the end thing where it's now like, oh, you just hire a comedian and have them do their persona in an animated movie, right? Like Mushu is just Eddie Murphy, but he looks different. I feel like this is a character. Like, despite the fact that it's recognizably Martin Short and that in the way he changes energies, changes topics, he's a little bit Jiminy Glicky, it doesn't feel like he's just doing Martin Short. It feels like he's really serving the specific function of this character in this movie.
He only does voice stuff, like basically after this. What were you going to say, Emma?
I was going to say, I love when he glitches out and like is trying to remember like really hard and then can't. It's a good moment.
I all that stuff. Like how when there's a countdown late in the movie, his eyes turn into a clock. Love that.
I just think like the animation is great. The design is great. He looks so interesting being in CGI in this more flat world. And the vocal performance is incredible. It's just like, it's rare that a character can pop this hard, this deep into a film.
When we finally, well, I guess there's actually a lot of time before we finally see the treasure, because the whole standoff with the pirates who kind of like do a little siege, right? You know, all that. I will say this is where the movie slows down for me slightly. I like Ben, but I don't know. Am I crazy? Is Ben, Emma, are you mad at me for saying that?
No, it's fine. I mean, they do like, they sort of go back and forth a little bit too much because like Jim has to go back to the boat to get the real map, and then he has the fight with Scroop, and then Scroop gets pushed into the space.
I like that. I mean, I like getting rid of Scroop, but right. Yeah, it gets a little bogged down here after a very sort of, propulsive start.
The movie's been propulsive. The plot definitely slows down here. Ben really becomes the motor for this chunk of the movie, but also they're kind of taking a breather to get a lot of answers out. You know, like they're sort of answering the mysteries so that then you can go back to more action in the last 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're beefing up the Doppler Amelia romance there, right? They're having a little moment there, but like, I like it when we get to the treasure, when we get to the big old mound, all that stuff, and how Silver's sort of final act plays out. That's what I'm more leaning in again.
It's also like, you're really showing off the potential of the premise, Treasure Island in space, which is holy shit, that's a lot of treasure. That's more treasure than I usually see in Treasure Island. That's an entire planet's worth of treasure.
Yeah. This is a fair amount of treasure, right, Ben? I mean, you're happy with the scale of the treasure.
Absolutely. I'm real happy. I mean,
you just wish it was
treasure
in a chest.
Rules. Yeah. I mean, like in general, treasure's fucking great.
Baubles, jewels, gems.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Ben if he would go on a space voyage like this if there was the promise of a treasure planet.
He would pay you to do that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Can I go now?
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many emails Ben has written to Elon Musk saying, I think there's treasure out there. You got to give me one of these ships.
It's just, there's the thing about treasure versus like a boring ass modern movie where someone gets like a bank deposit is like, there's just so much. How are you going to fit it all in your pockets and shit? Like, you know what I mean? It's overwhelming.
Have any of you seen that Shark Tank episode where a guy pitches, I think I know where some treasure is? I'm obsessed with it because it's like it breaks the format. It's like so different than any other quote unquote business that's happened. And the guy comes in.
Is he like, does he have a shovel and he's like, let's go? Or is he like, I need your help with like renting a boat or a plane? Or like,
finance my voyage to find the treasure.
Right. He's like, I know where it is. I'm 99% sure. I don't have the money. to actually get there and to transport it. I need the resources. But he's
That's
just
such
like
a good idea.
I know he's like an
To
unassuming.
go to the sharks.
Yeah, he's like
money.
He's like 60 years old, and he just comes in. All these other people do their big theatrical song and dance, and he's just got like a TV that looks like the TV that your teachers would roll out to show you Gettysburg or something. Like it's on that little like black roller stand, and he just presses play on the video, and he's like, "This is a treasure. I think it's worth tens of millions of dollars. Who wants to go down and help me find it?" And people are like, wait a second. I'm sorry. I need to define. Are you pitching us that your company is some sort of experiential treasure hunting thing? And he's like, no, I have located one treasure. I lack the resources to get there and to transport it back to land. If you fund my expedition, you get 50% of it.
I'm assuming none of them go for it. I'm assuming no one took a flyer on him.
None of them go for it. They're just, but they're like, I don't know. This is like not the kind of thing I invest in. And then one of the sharks, I forget who it is, goes, I'm sorry, I'm out. I invested in one of these a while ago and it didn't work out well.
I'm not doing another treasure hunt. God damn it.
Like 4 out of 5 sharks are just like, I don't know. This feels like a wrong use for this show. And Damon's like, I've been burned on too many treasure hunts. I'm not going to make this mistake again.
It's how I lost this eye.
Yeah.
Goddamn treasure hunt.
It's so good. But yeah, then you get back to like, you know, the film sort of ramps up the action again. You realize the treasure is at the core. It's at the center of the planet.
Centroid of the mechanism, as he says. They did the big door.
The big door.
Which shows how Captain Flint was doing it all this time. He was like flying his ship through this thing.
I think that's
to
really
go to
cool.
like whatever planet he wanted to, like a Stargate.
Very cool. Out of Stargate or that great Star Trek episode. And like love that as an innovation. Exactly. Like, you know, that was his treasure hunting, you know, curveball. That's how. And I love that he's a skeleton. Love that. Like, what's that Ben line where he's like, here he is, like flesh and blood, except like no flesh and blood.
Except for skin,
right, in the flesh,
organs, or anything that resembles flesh. That's not
right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Ben's got jokes.
He's good.
Funny and creepy. And then I love Ben putting his thing back in and being like, right, the whole thing's gonna blow up. Right, that's what I forgot.
Right. The reason they took my mind was so that I wouldn't warn anybody about the thing that's about to happen. Is fun. It's also fun that, like, you know, the Ben Gunn character, or Benjamina Gunn, depending on which depiction you're watching, is that it's like, oh, it's someone who's sort of got like madness from being isolated in this place for too long, stuck away from society. And then this is literally like his mind is broken. Like he just doesn't have the programming he needs. He doesn't have the chip he needs. He's got the incomplete puzzle to know what's going on here. He forgets that they're laser tripwires and shit. It's just, that's all awesome. I think that's cool.
And that works with like, how do we make this robot crazy? Like, what do we do? You take the mind. What's the reason for taking his mind away? Well, they booby trapped the thing. Right. So you have to, if it all works.
It also, like, it helps amplify the premise, all the door shit, where you're like, that's why he was able to get so much more treasure than anyone has ever gotten before. And that's also why he was able to evade capture, why no one was ever able to find him or the planet. He
disappeared without a trace.
Right. Like, I like the idea that it's like this guy had this fucking secret key to just running the table on the universe.
Yep.
But his ego was so big that he, even if he died, he wanted to make sure that no one else ever could get the sort of same bragging rights that he had.
He's a cool dude, and I respect it. I respect everything he did. I like his energy, and I think that he deserves his booby-trapped treasure planet.
He's a cool, scary looking pirate ship.
The solar sailor comes back around because there's the thing where Jim like uses the little engine piece.
We skipped a big little moment here. A big little moment.
What did we skip?
We skipped when the thing starts blowing up and everything's, the like crevasses appear and the treasure falls. And then he gets in the ship and Silver follows him and is like, oh, let's get out of here. And he's like threatening him with a knife or whatever. And then the thing comes and Jim falls off and Silver has to choose between the boat or his new friend.
It's a great moment.
It's so good.
It's actually a little tense. I actually was not sure. Maybe that's ridiculous to say, but like I was like, I could see Silver turning here and being doomed with his treasure, and Jim figures it out himself, right? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, it's scary when you have him hanging there, like by his, like the tips of his fingers, when those things like are going into the wall. Like this is just like, it's hopeless.
It's also like, I think it's a testament to the movie setting up a different tenor up until that point, that you're like, this might be a Disney film where they let the fucking mentor character die, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, or at least, you know, be disgraced, because it's Long John Silver is a villain, like, you know, so I could have, you know, and then he's like, yeah, all right, or whatever, you know, then he you know, does his thing, and I like it. I'm like, oh, all right, good for you, John. I guess you have to, yeah, you got to keep him around.
And then somehow they make it back to the door. I don't know how they did that, because everything was sort of going to shit at that point.
Sure.
That's the one plot hole that bothers me to this day, but whatever.
But I like, I mean...
wow, cinema sins Emma Stefansky.
Yeah.
Here.
We're up to like 60 sins at this point.
Jim cobbling together his you know, last second solar surfboard, you know, getting Silver's trust and support, and the fact that then Amelia and everyone else has to trust Silver as well, that they understand we're all in this together.
Silver's like, listen to him. He knows what to do. And they're like, okay.
It's sort of a redemption moment for Jim as well, that he's earned the trust of Amelia and everybody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. There are two other characters alive at this point.
Yeah, everybody's dead.
But I like that. I like that he kickstarts it with sparks. I think that's
Very
cool.
cool.
I think sparks are cool.
Yeah, we haven't talked enough about the multiple modes of Silver's arm, because he's got his like detailed finger arm for chopping and
hand.
shit, right?
Yeah, he's got those little fingers with the littler fingers on the fingers, which I think are pretty cool.
He's got his cutlass arm. He's got his welding arm.
He's got a revolver. He's got like an old-fashioned gun
arm.
But then he also has like a cannon arm, which makes you wonder, why would he ever use the flint revolver arm if he also has like a sonic cannon?
Because it's dramatic, okay? It's got flair.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. Every time that arm like flips around and a new thing comes out, Silver's just a cool fucking dude.
I remember drawing like diagrams of like trying to figure out how he could fit all this stuff inside there, because it only flips around like one time when he does something, when he gets something new. Like there's not like an order. It's not like a Swiss Army knife where he kind of has to go through the whole thing.
Was this like the biggest movie of that decade for you, or were there like 5 other movies you went this hard on? I'm just trying to figure out.
I guess this and like Atlantis maybe were the two where I was like, this is the vibe that I want for my cinema now. Like this is, and then nothing like that ever happened again.
Yeah, no, it died.
Yeah, they killed it.
It's funny that you watched this movie and you were like, finally, they've gotten it right. And then everyone was like, close up shop. Let's make sure we never make something like this.
And again, I had no idea until years later when I was like, oh, I didn't watch that. I heard that like sucked and didn't make any money. I was like, what? Are you crazy?
I always thought that Mars Attacks was beloved and a blockbuster. Like, I thought Mars Attacks was Independence Day because at my tiny school, we all loved it and like brought the fucking ray guns and played with them on the playground and shit. And I was just like, yeah, everyone loved that movie, right? It was humongous, but apparently America wasn't ready for the rude gambler. So yes, Jim activates the door just in time.
Yep.
And then I find that final Silver scene really sweet.
I cry every time. I've seen that movie a bajillion times and I still cry.
But even like I remember as a 13-year-old being taken aback by like, fuck, this is like getting to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sensitively done. Like, and it didn't, you know, they make the effort. Like, you mean when he's letting Silver escape, when he's down in the
and then he goes,
or whatever, down in the,
and he acts like he's not doing anything, and then Jim opens the door and he's like, go on.
It's good. It's just what you've been talking about this whole episode, Griff. Just like sincere, you know, not too goofy or jokey, and that's the energy that's probably costing this movie an audience. But you know, it's consistent with the story they're trying to tell. It does feel like they basically realized their passion, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, I hope they did. Like, after 20 fucking years, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure they were disappointed it didn't do well, you know, and all that.
Well, hopefully they listen to this episode and are relieved.
I hope so. Emma, do you know about the Glenn Keane thing with that final Silver scene?
I don't think so.
So he said he based it off of his football coach in high school.
Whoa.
I think I did read this
that.
somewhere.
He really wanted to be a football player. He was a halfback and everyone else was a lot bigger than him. And he really wanted the head coach's support, and he seemed to be the head coach's favor. He worked really hard, got starting position. He played 3 plays, got the ball once. Head coach took him out, put the other guy in for the rest of the game. Never played again and was crushed. And then he said, afterwards in the parking lot, the assistant coach, Mickey Ryan, a great guy who spoke with his heart and always had a twinkle in his eye, put his hand on my shoulder and said, Glenn, you're going to do great things. You're going to get that starting position. That wasn't right what happened. And I could see that he really cared. There were tears in his eyes, and I started to cry too. I lived that scene with Jim and Silver on the boat when Silver encourages Jim after a big setback. It was one of those things where you try to animate what you lived through and hope you can even get close to it. I think that in a nutshell is why there is such a surprising emotional potency to that relationship. Is it's like he's basing it off the fucking guy who made him believe that he could accomplish something in his life.
Wow.
I love
I'm
it.
fucking
That's great.
I'm crying again.
Emma's crying. Yeah. Yeah, crying again. But it's very sweet. And then all pencils were thrown in the garbage, and Disney never wanted people drawing.
Disney burned all the paper.
It's like
in their office.
It's like that Domino's meme where it's like Glenn Keane gets a pep talk from his coach, and then it like the bigger the domino at the end is like Disney Animation stops production forever.
It's so. I mean, because like Princess and the Frog is 2009. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's one of those things where like there's only 7 years between the two, and it feels like so much longer. It just felt like such a cultural shift in between these two movies.
Right, you're going from 1 or 2 a year to nothing.
Right, yeah.
It's the same gap as Batman and Robin to Batman Begins, where it just felt like, oh, are they never going to make a Batman movie ever again? It's been 7 years. That's a lifetime.
All right, let's play the box office game.
Can I just say, asterisk onto its box office performance? Do you know this is the first studio film that was released in IMAX?
Yes.
I did not know that.
This was the first simultaneous IMAX release because Disney had started doing re-releases of like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King in IMAX, and this was the first day and date theatrical movie to also go in IMAX.
Wow.
It's a little cool as hell
That's crazy.
on IMAX.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about the fact that the ship was animated from the inside so that they could move the camera around? Are we going to talk about that?
Well, we should. You're talking about it right now.
Because I'm going to talk about it.
That's the tech that's in Tarzan too, right? Where they can kind of move through the jungle with like that cool sort of 3D environment thing that would like. I feel like that was Tarzan's big selling point. I remember that being cool.
Yeah.
Just the way they move the camera is much more advanced in this than the stuff we've been. Yeah.
That was their big thing. They were like, we want it to feel like a James Cameron movie. And in that sense, they're very lucky that it took 20 years for them to get this movie made. Because this is kind of the first moment where you could really pull it off.
It's a visually very impressive movie, I would say. Right?
There's a really, really cool shot that I noticed this time. I mean, I've noticed it before, but like this time around, I actually like scrubbed back and watched it again when during the mutiny, Amelia, Doppler, and Jim are making their big escape in one of the longboats. And after she like pushes the lever to open the door in the belly of the ship, Amelia runs and it like zooms, it like follows her running across the thing. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but that's like, I had never seen that before or since in like a hand-drawn animated movie. That was sort of like that little detail that would probably be in a live action movie, but not in an animated movie like this.
Yeah, camera movements were really, really difficult up until this point.
I definitely hooted at a couple camera moves.
Mm-hmm. And then you get that really good moment in the earlier when like Jim and Silver are having their sort of like face off when Jim's like, do you ever know this guy named Billy Bones? And the camera's moving around the thing following them. That's cool.
Also, Silver's eye is so goddamn cool. Whenever you go into like Silver Vision, it's so awesome. But yeah, the end of the movie, Silver gives him a handful of treasure so his mom can rebuild the inn. And Jim joins Starfleet Academy and inspires a video game that David has already purchased on eBay.
David has already Googled like how to play Treasure Planet video game on like modern Windows. Right. Like my computer's like, what? No.
It was just a PC game, right? It was not on any platforms.
Just PC.
I don't think so.
Just a PC game.
Okay, box office game. I remember like this being one of the few times that I saw box office predictions be this off. Like when people were writing their pieces
Oh, really?
on Friday, they were like, look, it's going to underperform, but it'll get like a default Disney #1. It'll make like $25 million and it'll end up at 80 and it will be a flop. And then it was such a fucking radical flop.
It opened on this Thanksgiving weekend to 16, and that's like the 5-day weekend or whatever. And number 4, it's the biggest new movie, but it's being beaten by 3 holdovers.
Right, that's the other thing. It was like, it seemed like it was easy for it to take that #1 spot.
Yep, it's certainly of the new movies this week, but no. Number 1, Emma. It's a film you just watched. Griffin, it's a sequel. It's a fantasy sequel.
Oh, it's not Two Towers. It's a Chamber of Secrets.
Chamber of Secrets. Yep. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which in its 3rd week has made $200 million. A big old hit. Dobby's in that one.
And a big old bug. I don't know if you know that. That's the year where Potter and Towers both come back with their second movies, and they're like, what if a spider?
Well, the Lord of the Rings spider is in the 3rd one.
Well, and I'm stupid. I'm fucking stupid. I'm a loser.
No, you're not stupid because he's in the book, but he wasn't in the movie. Ben, you're a Dobby fan. I know, Ben, you've been watching the Harry Potters. Just for fun.
Over like the holiday break, I watched all of the Harry Potter movies for the first time.
For the first time?
Never seen them.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that like to watch them now after like years and years of everyone being like, I can't believe you've never seen.
Yeah.
Like I just did.
It was underwhelming.
But you like Dobby.
I like Dobby. No, I like parts of it. But yeah, it is like there's so much like cultural stuff that I missed out on that I'm like, oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. I guess now I know what you meant when you were like, I'm a total Hufflepuff or whatever. But
Ben, I ask you not to talk about our private conversations.
Right. I apologize. But I would say what was wild too is watching the progression of the CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
From troll to like where they end up. That's pretty wild.
It's insane how bad the CGI is in Philosopher's Stone, given that it was so great. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I've been watching them. I started this week because I got them all here, and I just got to Azkaban before we did this. And it's very funny, like how good Azkaban looks, even for then, compared to Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets.
It's the art direction is much better in that movie, even if the CGI is still dodgy. You accept it because at least the design is good.
Mm-hmm. Like when Lupin turns into a werewolf, that's genuinely so freaking scary. But yeah, it looks weird.
Right, on an effects level, it looks terrible, but he's just a good filmmaker. He knows how to make it tense. Okay, so Chamber of Secrets is still #1. Number 2, David.
It's a classic, an entry in a long-standing series that often is in November.
Is it Die Another Day?
Die Another Day, a bad movie, very bad. Oh boy, is that movie bad. But a big hit.
It's real stinky. It's also funny that people forget that was the highest grossing Bond movie up until that point. Like, it was one of those cases where it was a massive hit and they were just like, we need to change things. Like they had the perspective to go like, people are going to be irate if we do this again. We cannot trick them twice. We need to reset.
It's true. Yeah. Apotheo. Everything is a mistake. They've gone too far in every direction. The product placement, the globetrotting, the CGI. Yeah. Everything.
Madonna, fencing, all that shit. Yeah.
The puns, everything. Now, Griffin, number 3, it's a series we've been talking about a lot recently. It's number 2 in a series you just rewatched.
SC2, baby. Tim Allen, Elizabeth Mitchell. The Santa Claus 2, the Mrs. Claus, the best rom-com about people in their 40s of the early 2000s. Diane Lane, come at me.
At 5 weeks in, it's beating Treasure Planet.
Disney must have been angry at themselves for that one, right?
It gained 20% this week. It gained, Griffin, despite losing 700 theaters. That's how well it's doing. The Mrs. Claus. Number 4 is Treasure Planet. Number 5, it's another animated holiday programmer, Griffin, but it's a different holiday.
Is it 8 Crazy Nights?
It's 8 Crazy Nights. Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights.
Yeah. See, that's a movie I did go and see with my 13-year-old friends, and they were firmly in the theater. They were not going anywhere.
Right. Came a couple million within beating Treasure Planet, which I imagine would have gotten some people fired if that had happened.
Right. And like that movie was also a huge flop and was produced on 1/18 the budget of Treasure Planet.
Right. Made for no money. Right. Yeah. Now you got number 6, you got Friday After Next.
Okay.
The third in the Friday series. Number 7, though, I just want to shout it out. New this week, Solaris, Steven Soderbergh's huge budget romantic drama. Why open that at Thanksgiving? Open that thing in April or something. Like, it's far away from your Harry Potters and your dies another. No, come on. Like, you're murdering this thing in the crib.
It's 1 year after Ocean's 11, and Ocean's 11 came at the same time of year. And studios used to think like, oh, if they like George Clooney, they'll see him in anything.
Well, they sure tested it with that movie, which I can't wait for us to discuss one day. You've also got 8 Mile. Genuine huge hit.
Huge.
And a good movie. You've got The Ring, another genuine huge hit and a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got, of course, the Wes Craven film.
I do not have any memory of that existing.
Me neither.
I think you know what? He didn't direct it. It's Wes Craven presents They. You've got God, I have never heard of this movie. It's a night.
Are you saying they, like They?
They, and Mark Lucas, Ethan Embry, the duo. I mean, we love them. 1-2 we call them. Just like absolutely the fucking Hope and Crosby of the 2000s. Lucas and Embry.
It was released on Blu-ray as a double feature with Cursed.
Hey, sure. Why waste space on those discs?
And David, when do you think that Blu-ray was released?
Not 2003. When was it released?
The year was 2012, but the date was September 11th. This is a fun fact from the They Wikipedia.
Oh boy. Wow. They held off for 10 years and they were like, fine, we'll put it on a flipper disc with Cursed or whatever.
It's not even a flipper disc. It's like if you ask for toppings on one side of the pizza. It's like horizontally one side of the disc is Cursed and one side is the...
No, but that's when you play the disc, it just switches between the two movies as it rotates. You don't get to pick. You just watch them both in chunks.
Hey, I want a $5 Blu-ray, Cursed on the left side, They on one side.
Oh boy, we did it, guys. The clock is striking midnight. We've talked Treasure Planet. Emma, I know there must be more we have to get to. I know this is a bottomless pit for you.
I was going through it in my mind being like, was there any crucial scene that we forgot? But I don't think we did.
I think we got it.
I think we're pretty thorough.
Thank you for letting me do. I've been holding this in for 19 years. It's truly this is so fun for me.
Because when we were trying to pick out guests for this miniseries, Davis said, "Oh, Emma should do Treasure Planet," and then the conversation just sort of wasn't had after that. And as we got closer to recording these, I said, "Like, David, does Emma actually like Treasure Planet, or did you just suggest her because she feels like the kind of person who would like this movie?" And David said, "No, she knows every word of this movie."
I don't campaign for myself to be I'm always game to be on Blank Check, but for this one I was like, if you don't have me on, I will be a little bit upset.
But that's why I didn't know.
You did the Emma version of a campaign where you at one time mentioned Treasure Planet, and I was like, oh no, I know you like Treasure Planet. Trust me, Emma. Basically, you're on Treasure Planet unless Manzukis is like, guys, I gotta do Treasure Planet. Right? That's how I put it.
Right. Yeah. I was like, if you don't, if you get if you got JGL or if you got John Resnick or someone, fine, whatever, that's fine. But anyone less than that, I would have been mad.
We should book JGL.
We should get him on. This is a loaded die.
We've been doing a lot of JGL recently.
A lot of JGL. I don't know if there's anything in the future.
We talked the walk. We went to the planet, and he came in and very generously gave us his time for an ad read.
Of course he did. Great ad read.
Emma, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad we gave you an outlet to share your Treasure Planet love, and I hope you've converted some people in the process.
Just the thought that people are going to be watching this movie for the first time just because of this podcast makes me happy. So
Disney Plus, it's there for you, everybody.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm like, this is the greatest benefit of Disney Plus. It's just movies like that were just never getting rented. That people can just impulsively go like, oh, that existed? I should try that.
I don't know what it is about mine. Maybe it's just like the stuff that I've been watching. It probably is, but that's been on my front page. Like every time I log in, it's like, you might like Treasure Planet. I'm like, yeah, I might like, yeah.
They should say, we know you love Treasure Planet. Emma, people can read your work on Thrillist.
They sure can.
Can follow you at Stefansky. And they can look to the stars and see you cruising along.
Yeah. Catch some of the light coming off me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks to Joe Bow and Pat Reynolds for our artwork. Thank you to The Great American Novel for our theme song. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit, and go to our Shopify page for some real nerdy merch. And go to our Patreon for Star Trek talk. I fucking held David back from going off the leash here because we got hours of Star Trek talk behind the nifty little paywall for you.
My neck is chafed from the tugging he was doing. Yeah, I believe, to be clear, the next Trek we have coming up very soon is our Return of Jafar episode, and then the Search for Spock will
we'll go searching. Tune in next week for Princess and the Frog. 7 years later, Musker and Clements, who had been fired from Disney and thought they were retired forever, are called back for one last mission. So they think. Bring back the pencils, boys. So that's next week. And as always, I just want to share a trivia fact from the IMDb trivia page for this movie. It is listed under spoilers, and I'm curious. I'm looking at your face as I read this, Emma, because I'm curious to see if you know this. At the end of the movie, Dr. Doppler and Captain Amelia, two aliens, it says in parentheses, got together and had children. A few lines cut from this movie revealed that Dr. Doppler, the male alien, gave birth to the children himself. Disney ordered the lines cut because they thought males giving birth, even male aliens, was too risque for a children's movie.
I didn't think I'd learn anything new about this movie today, but I sure did.